breaking, promises made while the world's still shaking. People searching, trying to find the truth. Everybody talking, who's speaking proof? Voices rising from every neighborhood, fighting for tomorrow like we always should. Justice ain't a trend, it never goes away. The choices that we make write another page. Don't let the noise drown out your voice. History is written by every choice. Stand together, don't divide. Truth don't need a place to hide. Headlines don't sleep. The people still speak. Raise your voice, stand on your feet. Hope is alive, the future's ours to keep. No matter who's in power, the people don't sleep. The people don't sleep. From city lights to the small town streets, every generation has a story to repeat. Different opinions, different points of view. Still one tomorrow we're all living through. Ask the questions, read between the lines. Keep your values stronger than the headlines. Respect the facts that wisdom leaves. Real change always starts with these. We're watching, we're learning, we're voting, we're serving. No fear, no silence, no giving up. Keep watching. Headlines don't sleep. People still speak. Hope survives when communities meet. Truth and justice are mountains we climb. One voice becomes a movement. One step becomes a time. Tonight. Another day, another headline breaking. Promises made while the world's still shaking. People searching, trying to find the truth. Everybody talking, who's speaking proof? Voices rising from every neighborhood, fighting for tomorrow like we always should. Justice ain't a trend, it never goes away. The choices that we make write another page. Don't let the noise drown out your voice. History is written by every choice. Stand together, don't divide. Truth don't need a place to hide. Headlines don't sleep. The people still speak. Raise your voice. Stand on your feet. Hope is alive. The future's ours to keep. No matter who's in power, the people don't sleep. Every generation has a story to repeat. Different opinions, different points of view. Still one tomorrow we're all living through. Ask the questions, read between the lines. Keep your values stronger than the headlines. Respect the facts, let wisdom lead. Real change always starts with deeds. Oh, we're watching, we're learning, we're voting, we're serving. No fear, no silence, no giving up, keep rising. Headlines don't sleep. The people still speak. Hope survives when communities meet. Truth and justice are mountains we climb. One voice becomes a movement. One step becomes a time. Keep your eyes open. Keep your heart strong. Keep asking questions. because tomorrow's story starts tonight.
Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's your girl Golden, and we are back with another live, y'all. Y'all know we got to get into some more politics here. We did cover some things yesterday, and some things we had to cut short. So we're gonna finish off a few of those topics, and we have some new topics that we're gonna be bringing to y'all today. But look at that! It is 4 p.m. on the dot Eastern time here in the Carolinas in the United States, and the sun is shining very bright. And yes, it is hot outside again, y'all. But y'all know what that means when the sun is up. I'm in an excellent mood, and I was outside for a little bit, not a long time, just a good time. And we're back inside, y'all, to cover these political topics. I hope you all are having an excellent day in whatever respectful time zones you may be in, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or night for you. I hope you are having a beautiful day and a beautiful Wednesday, y'all. It is hump day, so we are halfway through, almost to the weekend. And as y'all know, I got my lovely co-host Imani here with me, and we're gonna break down some of these political topics for y'all today. So let me go ahead and welcome Imani to the stage. How you doing, girl? How you feeling? How's your day been? What's going on?
Yes, we're still having a lot of heat here in London. It's 9 o'clock here. It's been a particularly hot day with no breeze at all. But I'm fine. Did some house chores and stuff, doing some personal things that I've got to do. But everything's okay here. Everyone's okay. It's now, yeah, it's 9 o'clock. It is cooling down a little bit, but not a lot. But yeah, I'm okay though. How are you though?
I'm doing good, girl. We having a good day. I took my son outside earlier so he could play and get a little bit of sunlight or whatnot. You know, it's so boring because you don't have it's not a little toddlers around here, so he don't be having no friends, child. But I take him outside and we play and stuff like that. So we did that little bit of housework, kicking it with mama for a little bit. Same old, same old. Ain't nothing but a thing. But hey, Lacey, hey, Split. Thank y'all so much for coming over. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support. And like I said, there's some people that do come to the chat to support, and I know there's some people that may just listen from the cut, and we appreciate that as well. We can feel your presence, so thank y'all for joining. But yeah, we're gonna get into these politics. Did we have any housekeeping to do before we get started? And I give everybody a brief synopsis of the topics we're talking about today.
Yeah, there's one thing. I heard your song Clout yesterday. I thought it was good song, very relevant, very topical. Um, and yeah, I got the message. I'm sure other people got the message that needed to get the message. But my housekeeping today is really about discernment, personal growth, healthy boundaries, and trusting your creator, whoever you believe your creator to be, I would say trusting God through seasons of separation and revelation. Um, I'm just encouraging people to see setbacks and the exposure of unhealthy relationships as opportunities for growth rather than reasons for bitterness. You know, we got to look beyond the headlines and not only ask what is happening, but why it matters. And I just want to begin with a simple thought. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning an argument, it's gaining clarity. Throughout history, nations, leaders, and ordinary people have faced moments where uncomfortable truths were finally exposed. Sometimes corruption is revealed, sometimes injustice is uncovered, and sometimes we discover that the biggest obstacle to our growth wasn't an enemy in front of us, it was the people, habits, or beliefs we kept holding on to. Um, it's not about this is not about becoming suspicious of everyone. It's about learning to recognize patterns. It suggests that when relationships change, when doors unexpectedly close, or when people reveal sides of themselves we have never seen before, we should pause before assuming we've suffered a defeat. Sometimes what feels like rejection is actually protection. Sometimes separation creates the space needed for purpose to flourish. Um, that message, it doesn't only apply to our personal life, it applies to politics, history, business, communities, and even the media. Democracies depend on discernment. Citizens must learn to distinguish truth from propaganda, accountability from revenge, criticism from harassment, and leadership from manipulation. And every generation is challenged to develop the wisdom to recognize repeated patterns rather than stay simply reacting to isolated events. And there have been some repeated patterns, not only going on in government, but going on this platform. And those are the things you have to recognize. Um, and wisdom comes from paying attention to actions rather than promises. And history teaches us that institutions, governments, and even individuals should ultimately be judged not by carefully crafted words, but by consistent behaviors over time. Patterns often reveal more than speeches ever can. So, someone talking to their echo chamber for 4 hours reveals more about them than it does about the people they're talking about. Um, we're also encouraged not to waste our lives chasing every accusation or responding to every attack. There is a strength knowing when to engage and when to conserve your energy for the work that truly matters. And your purpose requires discipline, and growth requires boundaries, and peace often requires letting go of situations that drain us rather than strengthen us. So some of these toxic bitches, you just need to leave them right where they are because they're always going to be happy in that mess that they create on a daily basis. They don't know how to give joyful content. They only know how to drag, to denigrate, and to drag people down because their lives are actually quite miserable. So it makes them feel better by talking down about other people because nothing good going on for them. They might have a husband beside them, and trust me, that husband's not even looking at them. It's probably looking elsewhere. That's why they have to come here and drag women and make people fight and feel happy. Or they're not getting the dates that they need, or they don't have anybody that tells them on a daily basis that they love them. And that's why they're so miserable and bitter. And we don't have to allow them to steal our joy anymore. You know, we can't we gotta as we're discussing all the politics, the history, the current affairs, or the social issues, keep your principles in mind. Our goal isn't simply to react to events. Our goal is to understand them, learn from them, become wiser because of them. We want to ask better questions, seek evidence, recognize patterns, and remember real progress often begins with clarity. And we want better for ourselves, and we want to be better today than we were yesterday and better tomorrow than we were today. We strive to be better. Some people strive to just be full of ish all the time because that keeps them comfortable. And they're only comfortable on that level. They can't elevate, they can't have a conversation about anything without calling people bitches and hoes and this and that because that's all they're about. Limited in what they can speak about. As I said, by the way, is BJ still investigating? Because I haven't seen any more. Has she stopped investigating? Because I thought someone was going to do something about BJ investigates. What a joke. Anyway, that's enough for me. So listen, I'm just telling you, they can't do anything positive. Tell them to have one life where they don't curse one person or talk bad about one person. I guarantee you it will never happen. But they're not stealing our joy. We are too blessed to be stressed by their BS. And that's it. That's all.
I know that's right, girl. Beautifully said, per usual. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do a little bit of my housekeeping real quick, and then we're gonna get into the content, y'all. So for a few things that I wanted to talk about, right? It's been very heavy on my heart, but it's also something that gives me an incredible amount of hope if we handle it right. I want to talk about unity and what it truly looks like, why it is more critical right now more than ever, and where I stand when it comes to it. So, y'all know that we are living in a time that is marked by noise, distraction, and constant friction. Globally and locally, the world feels fractured. But history and human nature teaches us fundamental truth. Division is so easy, but unity is so powerful. Unity isn't just a nice warm sentiment we put on a poster. It is a strategic necessity for our survival, our growth, and our mental and spiritual peace. When we are divided, our energy is drained by internal conflict rather than channeled into building wealth, creating legacy, protecting our families, and elevating our communities. So, why is it so important now? Because the stakes are just simply too high. And y'all will see a little bit of that today on the live. We cannot afford to waste our collective power on pettiness when the world is requiring our strength. So, what does unity look like? It looks like an intentional effort. Unity doesn't just happen by accident, it takes a conscious choice to pull up a chair, sit down, and actually get to know one another. It looks like another human being saying, I see you, I care about your well being, and your pain matters to me. It looks like learning how to disagree on methods without destroying the entire mission. So let me be entirely clear about where I stand and how I rock. I am a person who respects individual autonomy. I respect that people make different choices, walk different paths, and hold different perspectives. I'm not here to police anyone's personal freedom. But what I refuse to do, what I will not allow, is to let any operation or person or agenda or influence cause division among number one, me and my Black brothers and sisters, and the rest of my brothers and sisters from all races. These unnecessary walls between us that people are trying to create will not work over here. If people are making a genuine effort to connect, to understand one another, and to care for each other, that's the wave that I'm riding. That's the standard that I'm holding. We cannot build a future if our foundation is rooted in hate, jealousy, and vitriol. Those three things are poison to progress, and we certainly cannot move forward if we choose to stay chained in the past. So, yes, we acknowledge history, we learn from it, we respect the journey, but we cannot live in the rearview mirror if we expect to drive forward. You cannot build a throne out of old bitterness. So, y'all, I'm asking, you ain't got to do it, but I'm asking, check your heart, check your circle. Choose curiosity over judgment. Choose connection over isolation. Choose love and solidarity over jealousy and hate. If we want to see real change in our homes, in our communities, whether it's your Black community or it's a mixed race community, and in this world at large, it starts here. How we treat each other every day. Let's lead with intelligence. Let's act with heart, and let's move as one. And thank y'all. That's all I got for my housekeeping. Now, Imani, did you have anything you want to add to that before we get into a breakdown of the synopsis of the topics we'll be talking about for the politics?
No, I just wanted to give, remember I said to you sometimes I look at different songs and I loved your song Clout, but I'd also like people to listen to two songs that have the same title. One is by Damian Marley and Wizkid. It's called Blessed. Listen to the lyrics of that. And the other one is by Buju Banton, and it's also called Blessed. And that is my message to all those haters out there. Basically, we don't give an F.
Then there is that. And we all must remember that at the end of the day, yeah, we are human. We have emotions, we have expressions, and sometimes we express ourselves artistically. So, I'm glad you like this song, girl. I got a few things off my chest. I think it's better to just put it in a song, because, child, we don't want to do anything different. And sometimes that happens and sometimes it don't. But I much rather these days just put it in a song. But let's go ahead and hop right into the content, girl, and get on with the show. Child, you be cracking me up. We be having such great conversations. But anyway, y'all. So yeah, this is our segment that we do that is global politics with purpose. And so a lot of the things that we talk about when it comes to, the political space, we try to not just cover things that happen in the United States or the UK, because I'm from the US, Imani's from the UK, but we try to touch on things that are happening all over the globe. We have a few things that we're going to be following up with, some critical news stories that are shaping Black lives, some global civil rights things, and national politics. From suspicious student drowning investigations demanding, murder charges, to systemic attacks on immigrant protections and medical equity. We're going to be bringing y'all the truth without the filters. So we're going to pick up where we left off a little bit yesterday. I know y'all have heard from many different platforms, and we have talked about it here. And it's one of the biggest stories right now around Nolan Wells. But there's also a young man that has also lost his life in something of a similar situation, and that's Daniel Mike Erving. We'll be talking about arrests that have happened now in the drowning of this high school honor student. And he was a competitive swimmer, and it's been proven that evidence tampering did happen. And, national coverage is not necessarily happening on a big scale like it is with Nolan Wells, but we do have a lot of people that are speaking about that and reporting on that as well. So we're going to finish up with that today. We also are going to be talking about immigration rights that are under fire, the threat of sudden ICE roundups that is targeting Haitian families as temporary protected status, TPS, rollbacks spark outrage over anti-Black racism. We also will be talking about some health disparities and anti-DEI attacks, how legislative attacks on diversity initiatives and medical education threaten Black lives and perpetuate harmful medical myths. We also will be speaking on the escalation in the Iranian security threats, international alerts, and political fallout following direct threats against federal leadership. We also got to talk about Trump, y'all, and FIFA faced legal consequences. Human rights watchdogs and civil liberties coalitions move forward with legal actions following the World Cup execution. There is also public backlash over the presidential rollouts. the country's reaction to recent administration announcements and policy addresses, and an empowering closing message that I will give to y'all at the very end. Now, the first thing we're going to get into, y'all, is, like I said, Daniel Mike Erving, Lake Ray Hubbard arrest. And this is from the platform and the YouTube channel of Dr. Rashad Richey. He will be speaking on and giving more details about the drowning, unaliving of 18-year-old Daniel Mike Erving, who was an honor roll student and competitive swimmer at his high school. This has sparked nationwide outrage following evidence tampering, and now arrests have been made. So the incident at Lake Ray Hubbard, Daniel jumped off a railway bridge near Lake Ray Hubbard, near Dallas, Texas, while two acquaintances who just happened to be Caucasian. Daniel did not resurface, and his body was not recovered for 4 days. And there was evidence tampering that his friends that were with him did. Now let's talk about the tampering and the arrest. Rather than calling 911 or seeking immediate help, 19-year-old Lucas Roper, who is one of the friends that was with him, and an accomplice allegedly threw Daniel's clothes into the brush, tossed his cell phone out of a moving vehicle, and that cell phone had deleted digital messages. And then after that, they fled the scene. Now, there has been a demand for murder charges. Roper was arrested for tampering with physical evidence, but attorney Ben Crump and Daniel's mother, Tamika Erving, are demanding that prosecutors convene a grand jury to upgrade the charges to full criminal homicide and murder. And I'm not sounding and speaking any Ebonics on purpose, child. It's just we got to talk like this on YouTube. But per usual, y'all know we have some videos and some reports to show you, because I know y'all just don't want to listen to my little raspy voice all day. So while I go ahead and get that popped up, do you have a few things you want to add to that, Imani? How do you think overall about that case? And I do think it's important that we do bring up these additional cases that have been happening that sometimes don't get all of the, publicity that other cases get. So what do you think about that? And I'm gonna go ahead and pop the video up.
I'm going to let you pop up the video, and then I'm going to give the list of questions for both cases. And people will be, well, they won't be surprised. Most of the unanswered questions in both cases are actually almost the same. So, yeah, I'll let you go to the video, and then I'll tell you what questions remain outstanding for Nolan Wells and Daniel Erving's case, which also happened this year.
Sounds good to me, girl. Let me go ahead and pop this up real quick. Y'all give me just a second to get all of my banners and stuff up here. StreamYard, so slow. Anyway, y'all, let's get into it. Let me pop this up right here. This video is for educational purposes, and it should be covered under the fair use disclaimer under Section 107 in the Copyright Act of 1976. So let's go ahead and watch this video together, y'all. And per usual, we'll meet y'all in the chat. Since I know y'all might not have caught the first part, which we didn't play much of, we'll just run it back from the beginning. And it's not a very long video at all. So let's watch this together, y'all. And y'all let me know some of your thoughts and feelings and whatnot. We'll be chit-chatting with y'all as we watch together. All right, let's get into it.
Teens have now been arrested for following a drowning of a Black 18-year-old. I want you to go to the picture full mass. This story has been underreported, in my opinion. I'm taking you to the suburbs near Dallas, Texas. 18-year-old Daniel Erving went fishing with two friends at Lake Ray Hubbard, but he never made it back home. His friends also did not report his death, and his belongings were disposed of. Sounds familiar? There's more. He was on his school's swim team, although the medical examiner determined his cause of death to be an accidental drowning. We'll get into those details. Let's just say this on face value. He's on the swim team, and the cause of death was considered to be accidental drowning, but he's on the swim team. There's no arrest. There's definitely circumstantial evidence here because his belongings are not able to be found. Still, cause of death ruled to be self-inflicted, accidental. There's more. Put him up full mass. 18-year-old Lucas Roper and 17-year-old juvenile suspect were arrested after failing to report Daniel's death and allegedly tossing his belongings and deleting evidence from his cell phone. Once again, it sounds familiar. The pair were eventually arrested on charges of tampering with physical evidence, a third-degree felony. Police told ABC News on Monday. We're going to go to the arrest affidavit. According to the arrest affidavit, Erving visited Lake Ray Hubbard on the 14th of April with Roper and the 17-year-old juvenile on the day he went missing. The three jumped into the water from a railroad bridge near Miller Road, where Erving is believed to have drowned. After the teen drowned, Roper and the juvenile fled the scene, and Roper allegedly threw Erving's clothing into a tree line near the bridge. That's according to an arrest affidavit seen by the outlet. The juvenile also threw Erving's cell phone from the vehicle on Roper's orders. The affidavit alleges Roper allegedly deleted communications with Erving from his cell phone because he, quote, was aware that there would be an investigation into Daniel Erving's death, and he did not want to get into trouble, end quote, the affidavit states. Roper allegedly admitted he panicked after Erving drowned during a voluntary interview with detectives. Now, keep in mind, everything that we're citing is based on the eyewitness testimony of individuals who would likely be the primary suspects in a murder, okay? Keep that in mind. There's a timeline to all of this. Timeline, April 14th. April 14th, Daniel's mother filed a missing persons report with the Raleigh Police Department after she did not or could not get in contact with her son, who had left with friends to go fishing. That's April 14th. 2 days later, April 16th, the Raleigh Police Department issued a community alert online detailing the disappearance of the teenager. Police said Daniel was without several personal belongings, including his driver's license and cash. Officials added that this was suspicious and uncommon behavior for Daniel per his family. Now, one day after that, April 17th, Daniel's body was recovered from the lake 4 days after he went missing.
All right, y'all. So we're going to stop it right there at the halfway mark. We're going to play just half, make our little commentary right here in between, and then we'll play the other half for y'all. But as you can hear in this case, it is sounding very similar to a lot of the things, that are happening or has happened in the Nolan Wells case. And this is a case that is not necessarily getting as much press and coverage as the Nolan Wells case. But these things do happen quite often. And a lot of them, just get kind of swept under the bridge and passed over and are not necessarily talked about or brought to the awareness of the public. But what's some of your thoughts and feelings and opinions on this case, Imani, and also how it correlates to the Nolan Wells case and situation as well? Okay, Imani will be right back with us. She was just having a little bit of some sound technical difficulties. So she'll be here in just a minute, y'all. Give me just a second. I'm sorry. It's StreamYard be doing this stuff, and it's really weird. So she'll be right back. Give me just a second, okay? I'm gonna get confirmation that she got her mic set back up. All right. But yeah, so basically what I was talking about, is that, this is a case, another case that is very similar to the Nolan Wiles case. And I think what we all can deduce is something that is going on that's a bit weird. Like it's very similar, like too similar. Now we can't be sure because we're waiting for all the facts and the evidence to come out. And I want people to be very clear. We're not blaming anyone. This is, for me, at least where I stand on it, I just want the proper justice to be served. And I am not saying that because these individuals happen to be with, Caucasian friends, that is, the primary reason as to what has happened. We can't be sure of that. But, there are some similarities. Oh, okay, girl, you got your mic back good? Okay. Yeah, I was just asking, what are some of your thoughts and opinions when it comes to this case? And, in correlation with the Nolan Wiles, what do you think about this?
The first thing that I find really interesting is the similarities between two people going away with someone and then not appearing, not returning home, but the friends don't tell the parents that they're not coming home. The parents have to put out some sort of missing missing persons thing. I don't remember ever going away with a friend or thinking going away with a friend and thinking, oh, I'm just gonna not tell their parent that they're not coming back. It's weird. It's weird to me. Very weird. And it's very similar. A similar situation in the disappearance part from what I can see. And really, they're just raising similar sort of questions as were, raised in the Nolan Wells case, the timeline, that allegations of tampering. That was with a phone in Nolan Wells. This is with, clothes and a phone. And, the speed at which the case has been handled, and they've said it's accidental drowning. I mean, there are too many similarities, and this was only in April.
Right, exactly. So this case happened back in April, and I could ask the people, have y'all heard about this case until now? And there are people that are actually reporting on it even more now because of the case of Nolan Wells. But back in April when this happened, it wasn't something that I seen flooding my timeline. I didn't even know that this case had happened, or this tragedy had happened to the young man. And so, it is a lot of similarities. And that was April. And then what happened with, Nolan Wells happened in July. So, it just seems to be back to back here. And I think, like I said, we got to wait for all of the evidence and the facts to come out. That's the fair thing to do. But, we are people that, watch and we commentate. And, we can speculate sometimes, but if we are using our minds and we're thinking about this in these cases in a logical way, there's just so many things that are very red flag and just are not adding up. And, I just believe that these two young boys need the proper justice and we need to know the truth. Imani?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Let's listen to the second half, because when I put up the questions are exactly the same that the parents are asking about both cases.
All right, let's get into it. So we're going to play the second half of the video, y'all. We'll meet y'all over in the chat.
According to the family, the police department did not handle this case with any investigatory urgency. They did not utilize the aggression and the, power, the might of their investigative ability in order to find their son. So Daniel's family asserts this was mishandled. Quote, the family believes the urgency they requested was not met during the crucial or critical early stages of the investigation. End quote. Dominique Alexander, founder of the Next Generation Action Network, said in an open letter to the Dallas Police Department that has now taken over this investigation. Quote, in the time since, the silence and lack of communication have only deepened their worry that this case is not receiving the attention and diligence it demands. Before I continue, generally speaking, if somebody decides to destroy evidence, we would consider that in every jurisdiction to be evidence of a guilty conscience. That's how prosecutors would look at that case. You destroy evidence, you have a guilty conscience. Why would you destroy evidence if you did not have a guilty conscience? So destroying evidence can at times be utilized as the primary factor to get a conviction from somebody because they would not typically destroy evidence if they were not guilty of a crime. There's more. NBC Dallas-Fort Worth. NBC Dallas-Fort Worth also reports that, quote, Daniel's mother said the police said they were unable to ping her son's cell phone until after his body was recovered due to privacy laws. She and other family members questioned what they call a delay in notifying the public that he was missing. After Daniel's death, advocacy groups said one of the people Daniel was with before he died came forward and told police that what happened was an accident. End quote. Quote, Daniel left home with somebody, went out there to Ray Hubbard Lake with somebody, but nobody called his mother, nor called 911, end quote, Alexander said. Quote, they have been met with delays instead of accountability, end quote. As Daniel's family mourns his loss, they now have a legal team working to get some answers on their behalf. Doridia Law on Sunday said his law firm will facilitate an independent investigation into Daniel's death. Isn't it sad? Isn't it sad that these grieving, tax-paying family members have to hire independent counsel and independent investigators in order to get to the bottom of something that should be handled by the apparatus of law enforcement, because they do pay to have that service available to them. God forbid something like this ever happens. Now something like this has happened. They can't even depend on the money that they spend that's taken out of their check for their local service to do justice for their deceased son. There's more. The family's attorney added, quote, Daniel Erving was an honor roll student. He was a member of his swim team. He was strong. He was a strong, healthy, young athlete. For these two suspects to say he drowned and they left, it doesn't add up. Something smells off to us. Yeah, it smells off to us as well. I want you to understand the people involved, the other teenagers. You're not talking about a 5-year-old, okay? You're talking about a juvenile at 17. You're talking about one that's older. You're talking about individuals who know better. And if it's purely an accident, you don't discard evidence as if you committed a crime. If it's an accident, you report it as an accident. You know better. The family obviously has to pay for these additional expenses and fees, et cetera. Funeral services. We want to help as much as we can. If you can donate, the family does need assistance. Do the very best you can. We'll bring you updates as they come.
All right, y'all. So that's the end of that video. You know, just like we said, a pretty short one. But, you know, shout out to Dr. Rashad Richey, who is one of many reporters, content creators that are bringing a lot of these cases to the forefront and bring awareness to them, so we all can know, what is really going on out here, not just necessarily in the countries, in the states, and the cities that we live in, but all around us. These things are happening, and if you ask me, I just think too often, and I think too coincidental. And, I am a gunner for truth and evidence and fairness and facts. And we believe that there are systems that's in place that will do that properly. And we know that there's sometimes things that, monkey wrenches that get thrown in there for things to be covered up and hidden for, whatever purposes. But at the core, we have to remember these are two young Black teenagers with promising futures that are no longer with us and lost their lives in very similar ways. And justice needs to be served, and their parents, their family, their friends need to have that peace of mind and heart to at least know the truth about what happened. Imani, you have any thoughts on this before we move on to our next topics?
Yeah, I just was looking at the both cases, and these are the list of outstanding questions. Right. First of all, in Nolan Wells' case, how did he enter the water? Did he enter voluntarily, accidentally, or was he forced? Was he conscious or unconscious when he entered the water? Number two, what happened during the final hours before he disappeared? Can investigators establish a complete minute-by-minute timeline? Who was with him during his last confirmed movements? Why are the witness accounts inconsistent? Some accounts say Nolan stayed behind to speak to a younger woman. Other public accounts differ from on what was expected to happen next. Have all the inconsistencies been reconciled? Why was Nolan separated from the rest of the group? What happened with his mobile phone? Why was his phone left on the boat? Could it contain information about his final movements? What do official toxicology results show? What did the official autopsy conclude? Why did the independent pathologist classify the cause and manner of death as undetermined? Can investigators determine whether there was trauma before Nolan entered the water? You know, what explains the reported discoloration on the back of his head? Was there water in the airway or lungs? Was Nolan's exact body position? Well, what was his body position? These questions go on. And then I'll give you some of the questions for Daniel Erving. What exactly happened in the minutes before he entered the water? Can investigators establish a complete timeline of his final movements? Who was with him immediately before his death? What did each witness observe? Why wasn't emergency assistance sought immediately? Why were Daniel's clothes allegedly discarded? This is the evidence tampering. Why were text messages deleted? Were there any phone calls deleted or altered? Why was Daniel's vehicle reportedly removed from the scene? Was every witness interviewed properly? Do digital records support the witness statements? It goes on. And guess what? If you look at a list of questions, and there are more of this, I could go on. The questions are the same. It's too spooky to be true. And this happened in April, and the next one happens 3 months later. Come on. What the hell's going on?
I absolutely agree, Imani. And me and Mama and Carlos was having a good conversation last night, y'all. And one of the things, if we just gonna revert back to the Nolan Wells case, and what has come out and has been proven to us about that case, and especially due to the fact that there has been one, I guess, official autopsy that was done, within the area where he was found unalive, but then also a personal additional autopsy was requested. And to be able to fully do that, you need all of the body parts, the organs, and all of those things in place. And one of the things that stood out to me was, if this case is a case where they are trying to prove that an individual is no longer with us or was unalive at the hands of drowning, One of the most important organs that would be able to prove that would be the lungs, because when you drown, your lungs fill up with water. And so if the lungs were filled with water, that's proof right there that in some shape or form or way, that person was submerged or, drowning in a body of water for a significant amount of time for the lungs to fill up with water. It's very suspicious to me that you would remove the lungs, because that would prove what it is you're saying. And so based off of that, and in addition to the fact that we have now heard that there's been, seems to be blunt force trauma to the back of the neck and the head, in some shape or form, and the neck area and region is also something that has been, withheld when it comes to the second autopsy needing to be done. There's things that they cannot review, and those things have been held back. And we did speak on our previous live that we did yesterday as to which reasons that can happen and why it could happen. However, they need to be released, whether they are still within the body or they're removed from the body. They need to be passed over to the next examiner so they can examine all of those body parts and organs thoroughly. That is something that did not happen and is being prolonged and is being requested for release. And so, when a body is autopsied, internal organs, including the lungs and the heart, are removed, right? So they can be weighed, measured, dissected, and sampled. Now, when it comes to the lungs, in suspected drownings, lungs are often filled with fluid or hyperinflated balloon. Pathologists take tissue samples and biopsy from the lungs to examine under a microscope, which is, histology, to check for inhaled water, diatom presence, or pre-existing medical conditions. When it comes to the neck structure, the neck, which is the hyoid bone, the thyroid cartilage, the larynx, and surrounding soft tissue, is extremely delicate. Pathologists often keep the intact neck block to dissect it layer by layer under specialized laboratory lighting, or after fixating it in a formalin to look for microfractures, internal hemorrhaging, or subtle signs of strangulation, blunt force trauma that is invisible during a quick standard visual check. So preserving evidence for ongoing analysis. If an official investigation is still active, the state medical examiner keeps those organs preserved in formalin. This prevents further decomposition, so additional lab tests, toxicological screenings, or specialist consultations can be completed. Once an autopsy is complete, organ tissues aren't typically put loosely back into the body cavity if further microscopic or state testing is pending. Why this is creating confusion, and we are talking about Nolan's case right now. When independent pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell performed the second autopsy for Nolan Wells, he was examining the remains after the Mississippi State Medical Examiner had already removed and retained those organ samples. Dr. Mitchell noted that he couldn't independently evaluate whether water was in the lungs or if there was trauma to the neck, simply because those tissues were currently being held in the state lab. However, Dr. Mitchell explicitly pointed out in his report that retaining anterior neck structures or organ tissue for further testing is a standard forensic pathology practice, and it does not inherently indicate foul play or evidence tampering by the state. So we understand that sometimes those organs and parts or whatnot are, removed with care, and they have to be placed in areas or whatnot that preserve them. And they sometimes are separate from the body. But if you know that a second examiner is trying to get to the bottom of what's going on, they need to be able to examine all of the body parts and all of the organs. So while it sounds suspicious, which it really does, right? And I am somewhere in the middle when it comes to these cases, because I do understand things have to be performed in a specific medical way and with protocol, but at the same time, there are some things that are just very fishy. if we're going to have a second examiner that wants to examine the entire body, including the organs and everything, then all of that needs to be released and presented to that examiner to examine. And I don't know. I just think the prolonged time that you're keeping it from the second examiner, we can't be sure what's being done or why it is being withheld. And that's just allegedly, in my opinion. But we do know a lot of things are not adding up. And I just really feel as though if your case is to prove that the individual drowned, then the first organ, the most important organ that can prove that to be true, would be the lungs. What do you think, Imani, before we move to the next topic?
No, I totally agree with you. I think the suspicion is being brought by these institutions not doing their job, not so much, and doing their job, which means questioning people they should be questioning, and doing the thorough examination and investigation. They're the ones that are creating more suspicion about this. People are moving how they move, but I think it's the institutions that are supposed to be thoroughly investigating these cases that are bringing suspicion on them when that could be cleared up by them just doing their damn job.
Exactly. And when it comes to Mike Irvin's case, I mean, I'm not a law professional or a legal professional in any shape or form, but it seems to be a very, straight to the point case. Why would you be discarding evidence, things that could maybe lead back to what? You being involved or you trying to hide or cover something up? Why would you discard that boy's items that way as a friend? And that's the thing that I think that is getting to a lot of people within these cases, is that these are young men that, allegedly were spending time with friends, and friends responded in this way at the moment of tragedy. And, we can't be sure. We're not blaming anybody for anything. There is another interview that we're going to bring to y'all soon from one of Nolan Wild's friends that did sit down and talk with Officer Tatum. And that was a pretty interesting conversation. Yeah, we'll get into that on another live. But you want to go
Sorry,
ahead and
why would anybody? Oh my God! No, let's do the interview. Yeah,
girl, I'm
Officer
telling you
Tatum.
now that child, he was doing the interview. He interviewed
Oh,
one of those.
okay,
So enough
yeah,
said on that.
maybe. Yeah, the
Yeah.
parents maybe need to have a rethink about the advice they're taking. But hey,
Mhm.
right, let's move,
Let's
let's
move
move
on.
on.
Let's move on. All right, y'all. So next up on the docket. Now this is terrible and nasty work. So we know about ICE, right? Or at least Trump's version of ICE. And we're not talking about, the deportation laws and stuff, and agents that have been in position previously and doing their job, basically the proper way. We're talking about Trump's administration's version of ICE that he has out here on the streets. And so what's going on here, we've been seeing, is that they've been very nice to work. And so now ICE threatens Haitian community, TPS rollback, and anti-Black racism. So civil rights advocates are sounding the alarm over imminent ICE enforcement actions targeting Haitian migrants as federal attempts to strip temporary protected status, which is the TPS. And this is sparking an intense backlash, as it should. Immigrant danger of deportation. Thousands of Haitian families who fled political instability and natural disaster from their country face immediate deportation threats if TPS protections are terminated without legislative relief. Anti-Black bias in immigration policies. Legal scholars and civil rights leaders argue that targeting Haitian migrants while offering leniency to other groups reveals systemic racial bias within the federal immigration enforcement. And we have community resistance, which is what we need, and we will continue to do. Grassroots advocacy groups and legal coalitions are filing emergency injunctions to halt sudden roundups and protect Haitian families from forced displacement. And we do have a video here, y'all, that I will pop up for y'all in just a moment from none other than Roland Martin, who will be breaking this down a little bit more as well. Before we get into the video, Imani, did you have some things you want to add, or do you want to jump right in?
Let's jump right in.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take a listen. We will meet y'all in the chat, and we will commentate in between. This video is about 12 minutes, so we'll commentate about after the first 5 to 6 minutes. But while it's playing, we will meet y'all in the chat. All right, y'all, let's get into it.
A number of immigrants in the United States were supportive of Donald Trump, believing in his economic policies and also themselves being quite anti-immigrant. Well, as a result of that, what did Donald Trump do? He targeted Haitians. He targeted others when it came to temporary protected status. Well, that went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court allowed him to end that. And so you're talking now about more than 300,000 people who are in jeopardy of being deported, who today have lost their status. Joining us right now to talk about this very issue are a couple of guests. I want to bring them up right now. We have Abraham Papalos, Deputy Director, Black Alliance for Just Immigration, Johan LeBlanc, National Security Law and Foreign Relations expert. Glad to have both of you as well. Abraham, I'm going to start with you. I mean, this is a day that folks dreaded. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, last week was walking across Capitol Hill trying to get the Senate to support her bill to reestablish that temporary protected status. And what this is a direct assault on immigrants. That's what Donald Trump and Stephen Miller have been focused on. And if you are a Haitian immigrant in this country, right now, you're likely scared to death because ICE could grab you at any moment and deport you back to Haiti.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have reports of ICE trying to ramp up sort of enforcement operations out in Florida and Texas and parts of New York. I also just want to back up a little bit to let people know exactly what happened. Temporary protected status is a designation that's given by the U.S. government to immigrants who cannot go back to their country due to ongoing conflict, environmental disasters, or political instability. Haitians were awarded that in 2010 when 200,000 to 300,000 people had died because of the earthquake and 1.5 million people have been displaced. And since then, it has been redesignated for various reasons, Hurricane Matthew, political instability. And so the Supreme Court in a 6-3 ruling basically said, one, that DHS, Department of Homeland Security, can terminate it, right? And then also putting Haitians at risk with no protection from deportation and expiring their work permit authorization. All of this under the guise of anti-Black racism. So that is what happened. And you are correct that the Haitian community is very concerned, as they should be.
Johanna, and here's the issue. The other problem is here. When it comes to Trump, they don't care when the hell they send people. You're the possibility they might dump Haitian immigrants in some other country that they never heard of.
I think you made a very good point, Roland, because when you go on DHS's website, it says that Haitian nationals do not have to go to Haiti, but they can't stay here. So what does that mean? I think that there needs to be some clarification on what that language means. If they don't go home, where are you suggesting that they go to? That's one. But secondly, I think it's important for the audience to understand that the Supreme Court ruling does not just impact Haitian nationals. Yes, there are more than 350,000 Haitian nationals who are TPS recipients. But in total, you're talking about more than 1 million individuals from various countries. Venezuela, for example, has more than 630,000 recipients, TPS recipients in this country. You have Cameroonians, you have Somalis, you have so many Lebanese, you have so many different groups. So that Supreme Court ruling, as we know, does not just impact Haitian nationals, but it impacts every single TPS recipient in this country, including their families. So you're talking about a mass deportation effort of not just the TPS recipients, but their children, their loved ones, who may be American citizens, who may have to ultimately leave the country with their loved ones.
Abraham, I've seen stories already where employers are already complaining, saying they may be losing workers, how this decision is going to have an adverse impact on the economy already when inflation is sky high.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, temporary protected status gave people work authorizations. And what you have right now are hundreds of thousands of people that work in the healthcare industry, that work in service industry and other industries that will be hit. It's going to demolish a lot of economies, particularly those in the Boston region, Springfield, Ohio, also in New York. And so what we're telling the community to do right now, which isn't really a whole lot, is to check in with lawyers and see if there's a way to adjust status. We're asking community activists and organizers for mutual aid. And on a legislative front, we're also asking folks to really try to find a permanent solution to this issue. And again, I can't stress the fact that this reeks of anti-Black racism. And as my colleague just said, that this affects other immigrants also. But we really do find that this is a specific anti-Black targeting of Haitians by saying that they eat cats and dogs at one point, even in the first Trump administration, by going through their criminal history of TPS holders. We've seen this in Del Rio. So I want to sort of stress that this also builds.
All right, y'all. So we're going to pause it right there for a quick commentary break. And so as you can hear in the video, nasty work from ICE agents here in the United States that have been targeting many groups of people, but Haitians is one of the main groups of people they've been targeting. And there's just a few things that I wanted to just go ahead and put out there. This is the main reason why we have to be very careful, right? If we have any type of run-ins or disdain for a few individuals within a certain race or group, we have to be careful how we verbalize our, frustration or anger. When a whole population gets painted with a broad brush because of the actions of just a few, or because of inflammatory rhetoric, it changes the entire dynamic of how those people are treated, both legally and on the streets. How broad generalizations create danger. It creates collateral damage. When public narratives single out an entire nationality, law enforcement and ICE operations tend to shift towards broad grouping and profiling. Regular law-abiding families, healthcare workers, and longtime residents get swept up simply for looking or sounding like the targeted group. It lowers public empathy, dehumanizing. Child be getting it caught up on that word.
Dehumanizing.
Dehumanizing. Thank you. I'll be getting caught up on that word so bad. Dehumanizing or generalized rhetoric lowers the public's moral barrier to unfair treatment. If people are conditioned to see a group as a problem rather than individual human beings, society becomes far more tolerant of harsh policies, mistreatment, or rights violations against them. It also fuels real-world hate and fear. Rhetoric doesn't stay on the news or social media. It walks into local communities. When negative claims are broadcast broadly about Haitian immigrants, it directly translates into workplace discrimination, harassment of children in schools, and heightened physical danger for everyday people just trying to live their lives. It ignores nuance and contribution. Broad brushstrokes completely erase the massive positive contributions of those communities, like the thousands of Haitian healthcare assistants, factory workers, and small business owners who keep local economies running every single day. So the bottom line, crime or bad behavior is committed by individuals, never an entire ethnicity or national origin. Holding a whole group accountable for those actions or issues associated with a few is just unfair. It manufactures an environment of fear where innocent people are put directly in harm's way. And so this is why I think we have to be a lot more careful in how we speak, especially when it comes to if we're speaking singular or if we're speaking plural. We can't speak about an entire race or ethnicity of people just because we might have had bad experiences with maybe a few people that just happen to all be from that ethnicity. That's dangerous. And why is it dangerous? Because we have presidents and an administration like we have here in the United States that is targeting entire groups and races of people for hateful purposes, allegedly, but that's my opinion. And this becomes dangerous for that entire race and group of people, whether they're immigrants or not. What do you think about this, Imani?
Um, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about the generalizations. And it is dangerous when people do use generalizations, but I don't think people really understand about well, some people don't, I'm not saying all people, temporary protected status. And the key thing is this was one of the most significant immigration decisions in recent years by the Supreme Court, um, allowing the federal government to terminate this temporary protected status, which is commonly known as TPS. And for many people, it may just sound like a legal ruling, but for hundreds of thousands of families, it represents a lot of uncertainty about their future, their employment, and whether they can continue calling the United States home. Um, why does it exist? Well, it was created by Congress to provide humanitarian protection to people whose home countries have become too dangerous to return to because of natural disasters, armed conflict, or extraordinary political instability. And it was never intended to be a pathway to permanent residency, but rather a temporary safeguard until conditions improved. Now, think about this. This for Haiti, it was the protection was essential after the catastrophic earthquake of 2010, which was 16 years ago, which claimed hundreds of thousands of lives and displaced well over 1 million people. And since then, uh, Haiti has continued to face repeated humanitarian crisis and political instability, also some violence and gang activity. And there's also been hurricanes and economic collapse. And because of these ongoing conditions, successive administrations repeatedly extended the TPS for Haitian nationals. Um, it now, this decision now, and it's not only Haitians that are affected by this or vulnerable to this decision of deportation. There are also people from Venezuela, the Cameroon, Somalia, and people are not even looking at that there's a wider effect on this. It affects certain service industries where a lot of these people that came in on TPS play a focal point in the economy, in the service industry, in healthcare, in many jobs. The economic implications are also a major issue that's not being looked at, and they this may force a lot of labor shortages, including, like I said, healthcare, hospitality, food services, construction, and elder care. And these are experienced workers, because if you think about the earthquake, some of these people have been here for about 16 years. 16 years, that's a long time. And not just claiming government benefits, but working in industries where they are an essential workforce. So we need to. It's not just okay. going to deport hundreds of thousands of people. Well, number one, some of these people are going back into danger. Number two, it's not necessarily gonna help the unemployment, because some of these jobs are not jobs that the people that have been made unemployed by this new administration are looking for. Because there's a lot of federal jobs that have gone, and these guys don't have federal jobs. They've got a lot of the jobs that a lot of people don't want to do. And I'm not saying that all people don't want to do, but they're not their reason for this economic crisis. This war and the expenditure on other stuff and giving billionaires tax break has more of an impact on why people are suffering now, and people's healthcare being removed because they don't want to pay for. They don't want these middle classes to thrive. They just want to give benefits to their billionaires. Like I said to you, Elon Musk, biggest welfare queen there is. How many government grants has it taken to make him a trillionaire? Let's do a study on that. But hey, it's very sad. Really, really sad.
I agree. But let's
Yeah.
go ahead and hop into the rest of the video, and then we'll do some commentary at the end about the rest of what we hear, and then we'll move on to our next topic for the live. We'll meet y'all over in the chat.
Off the white supremacist and white nationalism ideology that is prevalent in this regime right now.
Well, listen, they made it clear this is what they were going to do. And Johanna, frankly, a lot of people said, well, I'm not quite sure. And I guarantee you, and I've seen some of these stories, you got lots of buyer's remorse from a number of Latinos, Venezuelans, Cubans, who Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, they've been targeting.
Yeah, I agree. And there are some Haitians who voted for this president, right? And they indeed have buyer's remorse. But the reality is that elections do matter, and this is an example of it. So I think that the community, the country as a whole, needs to assess, what kind of policies do they have? Do they want their head of state, their president, to put in place, and not just immigrants, but also non-immigrants, right? What kind of policies do you want in place, right? Are the policies that you're pushing for, are they the ones that are conducive domestically? Are the ones that are they conducive internationally? So I think this is a very important questions to ask as we're coming up to the midterm. But again, I think it's very important to understand what is happening, and there is relief that could be given. Obviously, Congress has a role to play in this. There is legislation that was introduced from the House, ultimately passed, that was led by Representative Ayanna Pressley, the discharge petition. And when it got to the Senate, there was a request for unanimous consent. One of the senators said no. So that process has stalled, but there's still another legislation, Senate Bill 4818, something like that. I'm sorry, I don't recall the number, but there's still legislation that could be passed to extend the process for another 3 years. So I urge the community to call your senators and get them to potentially include this language in the National Authorization Defense Act. As we know, it's the one legislation that always passes every year.
Well, Abraham, also, I would say for the folks who live in these cities and towns like Springfield, Ohio, who may see their economy all of a sudden be destroyed, they may also want to pay attention to these midterm elections. You've got a U.S. Senate race there in Ohio, pitting former Senator Sherrod Brown against an incumbent Republican senator. So folk might want to be waking up, because the bottom line is the policies of Donald Trump and MAGA are killing cities, killing towns, killing the economy. And this decision regarding revoking temporary protected status could have serious ramifications, especially in the healthcare area when it comes to Haitian nurses.
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right on that. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of workplace industries that are going to be affected. But I also think, just above all, like Black America in general, when we were looking at the Black immigrant population, we know that um, 1 in 10 Black people in the United States are immigrants themselves. 1 in 5 Black children are children of immigrants. And so what this is really an assault and an attack on Black America. And I think whether we're looking at the legislative focus, which you just brought up, and looking at midterms, I think it's very important for us to also look at the long line of the Black liberation movement that's been happening in this country, where Black America is, and how Black immigrants are a part of that, and to think about the future and the long-term issues that we're going to have. And midterms are a part of it, right? Also trying to think about what's going to happen in the next 2 years, particularly when we're looking at the enforcement actions that have already been taken. Recently, 10,000 people were apprehended and detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So we really got to look at this as holistically as possible. The economic sector absolutely is a part of it, but also what is happening with Black America on a social, economic, and political side of things.
Absolutely. Abraham and Johanna, so we appreciate y'all joining me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
All right, folks, let me get personal for us.
Go ahead, Imani. You can lead with this one.
Right, yeah. They're shifting really this part of the discussion from the courtroom to the ballot box. And it's, ongoing theme that elections matter. Immigration policy is shaped by elections, and voters should carefully consider the real world consequences of the policies they support. You know, they also talked about some immigrant communities who backed the great Donald J. Trump may now be experiencing what's called buyer's remorse because the enforcement, they probably didn't think that any of this enforcement was going to expand to them. Is the elections do have consequences beyond the campaign slogans. You've got to look closely at candidates' positions on things that are important to you, and things that are important to you are your personal choices, like immigration, healthcare, economic policies. And they got to look at their positions before casting their vote. Don't look at the slogans. Don't look at the noise that is meant to distract you from the kitchen table stuff that really concerns you. And different things concern different people, and no one can vote shame people into what they think is important, because but sometimes we all have different, sometimes we have the same priorities, but we all have different priorities, and it doesn't depend on color. We're not a monolith. It just depends on where you are, what your socio-economic situation is. But this is something Congress needs to deal with if they want to deal with it. They can try and extend the TPS. And this is where, midterms are going to become important. You need to contact your senators if this is something that impacts you. There are economic consequences of ending TPS. Um, you know, a lot of communities have become to depend on immigrant workers. Let them not fool you. I'm not saying all communities, but especially in healthcare, hospitality, and construction, and other essential industries. And like you said, there's lots of Haitian nurses and medical professionals. There's lots of medical professionals, not only Haitians, other immigrant communities, other people on these TPS, um, on the that are part of this TPS. So we got to, and I'm talking about worldwide, globally, wherever you are in the world, if you can vote. People died so that you can get a vote. So you need to use that vote wisely, and you need to not take it for granted. But right now we're talking about what's going on in the States. People need to look at even the school board votes. They need to look at the local votes for the local senators, for the local government, because local government determines how your money is spent where you live. And it's really important that people know what they're doing with your funding, what is important to them, what is important to your representatives, you know. So, I don't think that it's hopeless. I think it's good that it's being highlighted, and people just stay informed. Like we always say, stay engaged. Whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, you have a voice, and your voice has the right to be heard, whichever side of the fence you fall on. Like I said, not here to vote shame, just here to make sure people know what they're voting for.
Well, Imani, you just hit the nail on the head with all of that. I couldn't agree more. There's a lot of responsibility that falls on us. We can do better as well. We must make sure that we are voting in the proper interest of majority everyone and not just for self. And we can aid and assist. And yes, we know that a lot of people do have voters remorse, and that I believe is going to come to a very big end after seeing how a lot of these things are playing out based off of the things that we are voting for. We have to realize that we are united front, and as much as we feel as though we are voting for self, we are actually voting for all of us. And if there's things like this that we don't want to see happen and we believe are injustices to individuals despite their race or their color, then we need to make sure when we're voting, we're not just voting for self, but we're voting for the best interests of all of us as a people in the country we reside in. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick song break, y'all. After that song break, we got a few more topics we're going to get into. The next one we'll be speaking about is the anti-DEI. And that also will be covered from Roland Martin. So rock with us with this quick song break, y'all, and we will be right back.
Oh, and make sure you guys go over and subscribe to his channel. He has some really, really good content. Subscribe to his channel and the Indisputable Dr. Rashad Richey as well, whose content we were playing. In fact, we'll be shouting out everybody whose links we're using, because without them giving us some of this information, we couldn't bring you these shows.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And yeah, we'll be leaving those links. I'll be putting some of those links up in the description box after I go back and edit, and we'll be shouting them out with on the broadcast as well. You guys, please check out these channels and these platforms so you can get some really excellent coverage and information straight from the root. Even if you don't want to get it here from us, you can go there and watch as well. But great coverage on all of these platforms. But let's go ahead and get into this song, y'all, and we will be right back.
The soul of humanity cries. A roof above, shelter from the storm. A gentle hand to keep a spirit warm. A plate of food, a mind that's free to learn. A simple peace, a righteous wage to earn. That's right. These are the needs to bedrock and the base. The sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screen is screaming, selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. Can't ignore it. We are human. Blood and bone and soul. Say it loud. With a right to be loved. The right to be loved. A right to be made whole. This is our slave. This is our sacred song. In the eyes of the creator. 'Cause where we all belong. We are human. Worth more than they can price. Beyond the hateful whispers and the Lord in Yeah, they're painting pictures, twisted and unreal, teaching our children how they ought to feel. All that value's in the label on your shoes. Or the filtered life you desperately choose. They magnify the hate, they celebrate the greed, and plant a poison, a suffocating weed. We gotta reach our children, pull them from the glow and show them a beauty that the media don't know. Let them know. No tech division, the mission of the television, spitting division. I'm in for prison. Got the youth chasing life, addicted to the feed. Ignore the hunger, the fundamental need. They love their idols on the digital stage, putting the future knowledge in a ritual page. Now they gotta break the cycle. Gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mightier than the source. We teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power in every single face. Let's go. We are human. Loud and blown and sound. Yeah, everyone. With a right to be loved. The right to be loved. Our right to be made whole. This is our story. This is our sacred song. In the eyes of the creator. And they all belong. We are human. Work more than they can prize. We are the hateful whispers in the lonely dark. You will build a world where every voice is heard. Every single one, from the suburbs to the curb. And love is not a whisper, but a mighty thundering word. A word of action, breaking leather chain. A word of power, washing out the pain. It ain't a feeling, it's a verb. It's what you do for me, for them, for us, for you. Cause they just a track, just a call to action. For every mother, father, every single fraction of the unity, holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell her that they matter. Tell them this fear is something that don't lie and shatter. For the knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest. We gonna grow in this field, yeah. We are human. Oh yes, we are. Teach for children. Learn power. Teach for truth. Reach where you let the rules in the fruit. See the fruit. We are human. A right to live. Right to live. Teach the truth. Reach where you let the rules. See the fruit. We are human. Sing the song. On this
All right, y'all. So thanks for rocking with us for that quick little song break right there. We're going to go ahead and move right along and get into our next topic, y'all. So we have to talk about the anti-DEI attacks on medical education and how that is putting Black lives at risk. So legislative battles aiming to dismantle diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in medical schools and healthcare institutions pose a direct threat to health, equity, and Black patient outcomes. Now, let's break down a little bit of why this is harmful. Removing equity-focused curricula risks reinforcing outdated, racially biased medical assumptions about pain tolerance, skin tone diagnostics, and disease prevalence. The impact that it has on Black physicians. Dismantling pipeline programs decreases the representation of Black doctors, directly correlating with those worse health outcomes and higher mortality rates in undeserved Black communities. And also fighting back in healthcare. Medical associations and Black student groups are pushing back, demanding that medical education preserve DEI standards to ensure safe, equal care for all patients. Do you have some thoughts on this, Imani, before we pop into this video from Roland Martin, who is covering this?
Oh, I think it's very interesting. I think it goes into some interesting aspects about healthcare and about understanding culture. And I can say, strangely enough, from my own experience with my late mother when she had to have carers. And you know, this is no disrespect to anybody who's from Eastern Europe, but I think they brought in. There were a couple of carers. Eventually, they all were black, and that was not because it was demanded. It was just who was put on the rotation. But one of the funny things was when because she was bedbound. When she needed to wash, she obviously had two flannels. She had one for her face and one for the body, and they were different colors. And these ladies didn't know, they just thought that she alternated these colors. And she was giving them an explanation of why you use two different flannels, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah,
or wash rag, as we call them. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
came in the middle of this explanation as she was telling them about, you know, you can't put the same rag that you put on your cooch on your face. And I'm going, what the hell? But it was funny. But this was a cultural thing. And
It
you know,
is.
eventually, you know, all her, and it wasn't that it was a demand, but sometimes when you're, especially when people are older or much more older, they they crave familiarity. So for my mother, it was someone that understood, you know, certain practices that she had in her kitchen as well, even if she washed her, you know, mugs that were in the cupboard. Before you made her coffee, you had to rinse it out. It's just, you know, there's certain things we do, and you know, sometimes culturally those things are different. It's not to say that anybody's culture is bad because they do things differently. It's just having an understanding. And that is why you need diversity in places like healthcare, in places like medicine, in places like nursing. So I think this is interesting for that reason. I know I've gone the long winded way around it with my story, but it was funny when my mother was giving a lecture to these women about why you can't wash your cooch with the same flannel. But hey, some people
Girl,
do.
so let me tell you for real. That is so
Mm.
true. My grandma was the same way, and she taught that to me and my mother as well. She said, "You never
Mm.
wash your face with the same cloth that you wash the rest of your body with." And I don't
Mhm.
know. I believe that is a cultural thing, right? We can't be
Yeah.
sure. But,
Mm.
just like what you were saying with your story, and thank you so much for sharing in these
Mm.
different, positions and jobs that people can hold, it can make the, person who is receiving the services be more at ease and have more comfort if they know that they have someone that's working with them understands some of these things. Um, it makes that situation a bit more comfortable. And when people are in their predicament, especially like home health care or in a rest home or a nursing home or even in a hospital, if you see someone who looks like you cannot always be sure. But it literally lets you take a like deep breath and you feel like there's going to be a connection and an understanding there when it comes to certain things that you may not possibly get if it's someone that doesn't, understand, like your culture, your background, your nature, and things of that. Um, case. But this is why, like you said, it is extremely important for us to be able to have, um, DEI in place. And a lot of people see DEI as a cheat code or a handout. Just a black person or a black or brown person gets the opportunity because the law just says so, as if they're not qualified for that opportunity and that job position. But what it is we need it to be diverse. The more diversity that we have, the more comfortability that we can provide in any of the positions that we hold, because there's a level of understanding, there is a level of love and care that comes with it. And one of the stories that I want to tell real quick is I worked in ophthalmology, right? And so at one of the doctor's offices that I worked at within, of course, the city that I live in is very diverse because it's a military town. And so we have people in this city where I live from all over the globe. And a lot of the people and the patients that come in, they don't always speak English, right? And so we used to have a lot of patients that would come in and they were very, shy and embarrassed and, couldn't or didn't feel comfortable enough to communicate their pain or their complaint or whatever may have been going on with them in a proper way for the doctors and the medical staff to understand, because they know that there was a language barrier. And so at one of the doctor's offices that I worked at, what I liked about being at that doctor's office is that it was very diverse. And so we've had people that worked at the doctor's office that were Asian descent. We had people that worked at that doctor's office that were Hispanic, African American, Caucasian. I even worked with a really beautiful girl. I love her. She's so sweet. I talked to her on Facebook on this day. She's Russian. And so, she worked there as well. And so that level of diversity makes a lot of patients or whoever is just coming to whatever business for whatever service feel more comfortable and welcome because of small things like that, like knowing a little bit of certain things as far as the washcloths and stuff like that, but also with language too is a big one. It makes people feel more comfortable if there's someone there that can speak their language. They open up, they let their guard down, and they feel as though they can get the proper treatment and care because they can actually, articulate what it is that's going on with them and have somebody understand that language. But yeah, go ahead, Imani.
No, I'm cool.
Oh, okay. All right. But yeah, that's just all I wanted to add on to that. Diversity is important because diversity really shows we all are different. We all come from different areas, different heritage, speak different language, have different ways of doing things. And when there's diversity, there's a level of high respect, right? People feel respected. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel understood. And so it adds a lot of, benefit when we do have those practices in place. But that's enough talking about me, y'all. Let's go ahead and get into this video. Again, this is from Roland Martin. He's going to be breaking down this a bit for us. We're only going to play, we're going to break it down in 3 segments and we'll do our commentary in between. And as we watch together, we will meet y'all in the chat. Let's get into it.
Folks, the other day we showed you congressional testimony about the anti-DEI attacks. Also, we talked in the medical area. Did you know that less than 5% of U.S. physicians are African American? As we say, the House Education and Workforce Committee held a hearing examining medical schools and how they so-called becoming infected with woke ideology, and of course taking resources away, which as a result are training the next generation of doctors. Diversity is critical in the medical field, especially when you talk about for care. Dr. Willie Underwood III is the 181st president of the American Medical Association, the nation's largest medical group. He joins us right here. Doc, glad to have you on the show.
Great to be on the show, man.
Let's
be here.
Yes, sir. Let's jump right into it.
All right.
That hearing, it is shameful and despicable when you see the right-wing attacks on medical schools, on diversity, as if we're being overrun by unqualified Black folks, Latinos, and others. And what kills me is they ignore the data, which shows empirically how the disparity between how Black patients are treated when they have white doctors and Black doctors.
Well, there's a couple things they also leave out. The fact that inequities in healthcare in this country cost us $450 billion a year. And by 2040 is estimated to be $1 trillion, which will probably occur before 2040 because of the healthcare changes in Medicaid and in SNAP benefits and stuff like that. So that is a significant cost to this nation that we all pay, right? So when, and what you hit on is this, is that we know that when you have physicians that are concordant, that means that when Black patients have Black physicians, and it works the same thing with Hispanics and Native Americans as well, their health outcomes are better. Newborn survival rates increase by 50%. Adherence to preventive care increases by 19%. Life expectancy increases. And if you don't mind, I want to tell you a story of how that really plays out. in society and healthcare delivery. So, when I was a medical student, I was in clinic, an internal medicine clinic, and a patient really collapsed in the lobby, collapsed. And they examined her, and her blood pressure was extremely low. They tried to it. They said, "You need to be admitted in the hospital." She said, "No, call my family. I want to go home." And the doctors knew that she needed to be admitted. They were trying to provide her care. And they said things like, "If you go home, you're going to die, da, da, da." A lot of stuff they said that. And she says, "I don't really care. I want to go." So they said, okay. And they had her waiting in a patient's room alone. So I said, "Well, can I go talk to her?" Now I went and talked to her. Now, interesting, when I looked at this lady, what I saw was my grandmother. And I sat back and said, well, if I was talking to my grandmother, what would I tell her? What's really important to my grandmother? And I said, what's important to my grandmother? Me. My grandmother cares about me more than she cares about everything, because telling her she's going to die, she's someone who believes in God. So she's, I'm going to go all to my Lord to be free. So I ain't worried about dying. But when I talked to her about her family, talked to her about her grandchildren, and then I asked her, I said, which was your favorite grandchild? And then she told me, and I said, well, what's your favorite grandchild going to do? And I named her by name, when you die. And she says, what? I said, yeah, because that's what we're talking about. They're not going to have you here. So let's figure out why you don't want to be admitted. And she told me, I don't want to be experimented on. And I said, okay. She said, I don't trust the system. I said, and she gave rational reasons why. And I said, and we had our first Black internal medicine chief resident. I called him up and said, will you admit her to your service? Because I promised this woman, you will get care, that they will treat you with respect, care that you deserve. And she trusted me enough to be admitted to the hospital and get the care that she needs. That's what we're talking about.
But they simply don't understand that. And here's the thing that trips me out. You go to places like Mississippi, you go to other places, and you got poor whites who need health care. And we're seeing with the deportation efforts of the target of Haitians, what's going to happen when it comes to many of those Haitian nurses and other places as well. And so they're targeting individuals, immigrants to the country, who are providing health care to Americans and saying, no, give me an American doctor. Well, if you run the immigrants out, you're going to see an even more shortage in rural places and even in many inner city places.
So we know that we have a physician shortage in this country by about 80,000. We know that we don't have parity when it comes to the populations. That means that Blacks are 13% of the population. They should be 5% of the physicians. We know that Hispanics are now, I think, 16% of the population, but they're about 5 to 6% of the physicians. We know Native Americans are 1.3%, but they're like 0.3% of physicians. So we should have parity. And we should have a workforce that's trained well enough to be able to provide care to all our citizens so that we have a healthy, robust, productive society. Now, doing every campaign from the president to the Senate, to Congress, to the governors, to state houses, no one talks about health care and the health of our nation and how do we improve it. We don't have any debates on that. We don't have really discussion about it. So therefore, we don't know how they think when they get in there, who we're voting for when it comes to how do we create a healthcare system that works for us, not just for some of us, but for the some of us, SUM, the totality of our society. And you're absolutely correct. We have failed to do that.
What do you say?
All right, y'all. So we just gonna pause it right there for our first interval or whatnot for a quick commentary break. Did you want to start off, Imani, or did you want me to start?
You can go. You can go. Yeah, I'll wait. I'll go after you. But yeah, I love this this story. But you go first.
Okay. Well, I didn't really, we told some of our own personal experiences, stories, and we have so many more we could tell, right? And I am telling personal experiences and stories when it comes to being in the United States, and you're telling some when it comes to being in the United Kingdom. But it just goes to show you wherever you are when it comes to DEI and diversity, it's necessary wherever you're at. It doesn't matter the country or the city or the state or anything like that. But just a few things that I just want us to remember when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is also, or I'm sorry, it is often framed in public debates as a political issue, but at the core, it is a practical and human framework. It is about creating environments, whether in workplaces, schools, or local communities, where every single person has a fair shot, access to resources, and a seat at the table in comfortability. When stripped of political spin, the real importance of DEI comes down to three main areas. We have human fairness, organizational excellence, and community strength. So let's talk about a few of these a little bit, right? Breaking down historical and structural barriers. The equity in DEI is critical because it recognizes that equality means treating everyone identically. It doesn't always lead to fairness, and if people are starting from completely different baseline conditions, but it does help to level the playing field. Historical policies and systemic biases and generational wealth gaps mean marginalized groups, including Black Americans, immigrants, women, disabled individuals, and veterans. And they have often faced hidden hurdles in hiring, housing, and capital access. Also, creating access and not favors. Equity isn't about giving unearned advantages like handouts. It's about removing arbitrary roadblocks like biased hiring algorithms, non inclusive medical research, or informal old boy networks. So, talent and effort determines your success. If you are qualified and you can do the job, you should have an equal shot just as anyone else. Driving innovation and better decision making. When everyone in a room thinks the same way, has the same background, and live the same life, organizations develop blind spots. And those blind spots can lead to bad decisions. So we have to have the power of perspective. A diverse group brings different lived experiences to the table, whether it's in healthcare, for instance, having a Black and brown doctor improves patients' trust, just as they were speaking on, because they are, honing into the medical aspect of it all, and health outcomes, and media and broadcasting. Diverse teams ensure stories are told with authenticity rather than stereotypes. And we also have outer performing homogeneous teams. Decades of organizational research consistently show that companies with diverse leadership teams are more innovative, better at problem solving, and more adaptable to change because they challenge each other's assumptions instead of coasting on groupthink. We also have fostering true belonging and community trust. Diversity is about counting heads, but inclusion and belonging are about making sure those heads actually count. So, lowering stress and burnout. When people feel they have to mask their identity, code switch constantly, or hide who they are just to feel safe or respected at work, it drains them tremendously. Inclusive spaces allow people to bring their full skills and authentic selves to the workplace. Strengthening public institutions. When police departments, school boards, courts, and government agencies reflect the actual makeup of the communities they serve, public trust increases. People need to see themselves represented in the systems that govern their lives. So, the big picture here, DEI isn't about dividing people into categories or putting one group down to lift another up. When it is done right, it is about making sure the door is open very wide and wide enough for everyone, ensuring that dignity, opportunity, and respect aren't reserved for a privileged few, but are accessible to all. So what do you think about that, Imani? And what do you think about what we heard thus far in the video? I know it's honing in on the medical structures right now, but we also understand, and one of my fears and one of the things that I question is if it's starting within the medical structure, it's just going to circle back around, and where is it going to land next? In our school systems. And I think one of the things that we don't want and we don't feel as though is going to be a great thing is for us to go back to where our schools are segregated. And this seems to be the track that they're putting us on. Hey, Mr. Nobody, how you doing? Aloha. What's up? Thank you for popping in. How you doing? You can go ahead, Imani. I'm done.
Sorry. Sorry, I was just turning the fan up. I think this growing debate about the importance of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, in America's medical schools, it asks a very important question. You know, it really does. What happens to patient care when it's reduced? And rather than treating it as a slogan, it's looking at the practical impact on healthcare outcomes. I mean, that story he told about the elderly Black woman who wanted to leave the hospital and how he communicated with her to recognize it was important to her family that she survived in language, um, not not that he was speaking a different language, but he was speaking to her culturally, so she understood how important it was because he understood her concerns about her family and the historical reasons behind her mistrust, and he was able to reassure her and help her accept the care she needed. um, it's This is what cultural understanding is, and it's care is important, but trust is just as important as clinical expertise. And the thing is, the healthcare disparities, the outcomes are big concerns, but they're not economic concerns of the government. So, unequal healthcare outcomes cost the United States hundreds of billions of dollars every year through preventable illnesses, delayed treatment, and poorer long term health outcomes. So, investing more in representative healthcare it is important because it saves money and it benefits both the patients and the economy. There's a shortage of people from different ethnic backgrounds in the uh, in the healthcare system compared to their representation in the population. And this is what the focus was on. It's about building trust, improving the communication, and strengthening patient outcomes, which is important, and saving money. It's important for everybody. And it's important for people not to spend money where they don't need to, because people are not able to people don't know or not being communicated in a language they understand. And that doesn't mean it's a foreign language. It just means it's a cultural dynamic. And that's what I got from this first part.
I absolutely agree. And, like I said, and we have these type of conversations all the time because of a lot of the backgrounds and areas that we have had professional jobs and careers in, me being, working in the medical field and you elsewhere. We do understand the importance of diversity, and we see how it actually can bring in a better structure within the job where you work, not just for the employees that are there, but also for the patrons or whoever it is you are serving, the services that you're offering to. So it puts them in a better place and space of comfortability and understanding, because they know there are people that look like them, that probably understand their background, how they talk, you know what I mean, their mannerisms, all of that. If someone walks in and they may be dressed a certain way, you may have people from another culture that may look at that as offensive, or someone who may be, meaning them no good. But we understand, because we come from the culture, just because they're dressed in that way they don't mean you any harm. That's just how we dress. That's just how we talk. That's just how we wear our hair. That's just how we are. And so, diversity is very important. And I'm saying we and, me and you, Imani, we're Black women. And yes, I'm in the US, you're in the UK. But we're talking about diversity when it comes to all races of people, right? So it doesn't have to just be about Black experience. It's about any other ethnicity and groups experience as well, and where they can feel comfortable. I remember when I was very young, this is a little short story. When I was very young, well, not very young, but I was in my teens. And in my teens, I used to work in retail. So I worked at JCPenney. And so when working there, it's busy. I worked in a JCPenney that was attached to the mall. So it wasn't like it was a separate JCPenney. It was the mall. So, we got a lot of business and a lot of different people from all ethnicities and backgrounds and groups that used to come through and shop and things of that nature. And I just remember, like, I would see the fear and the uncomfortability of certain individuals, especially like I would say, like, we had a lot of Hispanic people that would come in or whatnot, and they could not speak English. The adults and the parents could not speak English, but the kids were growing up here in America and going to American schools, and so they were learning English very fast. But the parents weren't necessarily learning English, and they were learning how to count money and all of the things. So a lot of the times when they would come, to check out or whatnot at the register, it wouldn't be the parents that were conducting the business. It wouldn't be the parents that were conducting the business at the register. It would be the kids, right? Their children. And sometimes these kids looked to be as young as maybe like 7, 8 years old. But because they were in the school systems and learning English and learning, the US dollar and things of that nature, when they would come, the parents would just allow the children to step to the front to do business. You know what I mean? And I noticed that, right? And I could see in the parents' face that that was uncomfortable for them. They didn't want to be in that position to where they don't know enough English or they don't know the currency and things of that nature to be able to make, a purchase or whatnot. I believe that they were proud of their children because their children knew how to do it, but I believe they want to know how to do it too. And that's the good thing about, I think, opportunity when it comes to not just this country, maybe other countries I can't speak on. I only reside in this one. Is even if your children learn, your children are going to come back and teach you. You know what I mean? So whatever they go to school and be in systems and places and spaces of where they learn maybe English or, a different language, or they learn the currency and all of those things, they're going to come home and teach it to their parents. But at that time, I used to notice that, when I was at the register, that it was the kids that were doing the transactions with the money and stuff and communicating, and they could speak English. The parents could not speak English, and I could see how uncomfortable the parents were. And so in that moment, I was just like, diversity within the workplace can make patrons feel comfortable because, yes, that person happened to come to my register and I was checking them out. And I speak a little bit of Spanish, right? Because like I took some classes in school, like I took like 4 different years, 4 different languages, but I'm not fluent in any other language than English, but I know some words. But imagine if there was someone that was at the register that spoke fluent Spanish, that would have made that woman feel more comfortable. And she would have been able to conduct the business as an adult and as a parent because she's able to speak the language, and that's someone on the other side that understands the language and understands, how to translate the currency. And so that's why I believe that, the DEI it's not about a handout. It's about putting everyone in a place, number one, that they are, qualified to be in because of the hard work and the knowledge that they have, the schooling that they may go through, but also having, just a plethora of people from all different backgrounds and walks of lives that speak different languages and have different understanding, especially here in the United States, because this is a melting pot country. And so we have a lot of people here in this country that are from all different countries. And I think it just gives people a level of like grace and, pride when they can, communicate and connect with someone who speaks their language, understands their background, understands, their, you know what I'm saying? Like all of the things that we discussed thus far. Because, child, I get long-winded, so I don't want to talk too much. But you get what I'm saying, Imani? Like it makes a difference. And these are experiences and things that I've seen in my life, since I was very young as a teenager, starting off working at like 15 years old in fast food and up to now I'm 36. I've seen a lot of different experiences. And I do believe that diversity is very important. But yeah, we're going to get into some more of the video. You have any more thoughts, Imani?
No, no. Yeah, I think all points that you've made are absolutely 100% right. But
Yeah,
I mean, they get into all this and stuff about, you know, I don't know what there's a phrase I'm looking for, but yeah, let's just keep watching what they're
play a
saying
little
because
bit
it
more.
really,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's play a little bit more, and then we'll come back for another commentary break in just a minute because we got a few more topics to get through and shall be over time. But anyway, let's get back into it. All right, let's go.
What is the AMA's position when it comes to Medicare for all? Because that is a huge discussion in many of these political campaigns.
Well, that's an interesting question. So we believe that everyone should have access to top quality care. Everyone should have access to physicians who are able to have a team around them to provide optimal care. Okay, so now when we think about that, some people say, well, how do you achieve that? Now, if you have, so universal health care and Medicare for all are not really this, so Medicare is a potential universal health care, right? Medicare for all. And other options are potential universal health care. Now, the question is this. If we had Medicare for all today, and they decided to cut the budget like they did Medicaid, where would Medicare for all be? They took $1 trillion out of the Medicaid budget over a 10-year period. So you want a system where the government can switch at any point and decide that they're not going to fund it? What other countries are facing right now, trying to figure out how to maintain the financial structure around providing healthcare to their nation? I think what we have to do in the AMA, same thing, that we got to figure out how do we provide care to right now 360 million people, that we should create a system that's able to provide care for 500 million people, because we hope our population grows, right? And we're prepared for that.
Our panel, Greg Carr, you first.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Roland, and thank you as well, Dr. Underwood. As a son of Morehouse, as a Morehouse man, I know you understand, particularly one who was raised up under the great Hugh Gloucester. I know you understand the incredible importance of Black institutions. Any thoughts on how we can continue to widen and strengthen the pipeline to create more Black doctors so that you can have more of your colleagues do exactly what you did, which was place that elder in the hands of a person of African descent who understood that connection? I'm thinking about Morehouse School of Medicine and Howard University, and of course Meharry, which has that pipeline with Tennessee State. One of the great physicians, Levi Watkins, a Tennessee State graduate, of course, made his mark and bones at Johns Hopkins. How can we really strengthen that, particularly in a moment when these white nationalists have seemed to somehow think that anything Black is inferior? And an adjacent question to that, I have, any thoughts on this cap that passed in this bill last year that caps even medical education, the way I understand it, at I think it's $50,000 a year up to $200,000 total? What effect might that have on folks trying to finance their medical education? Thank you.
Well, I'm going to answer the second question first, and that's the question that I believe I can safely answer. So that it's going to have a major impact, right? Because some students are coming out with $300,000 to $500,000 in debt. So that cap will undermine to a certain degree our ability to fund, and I mean our community's ability to fund medical school education, especially if you have undergrad debt too. So if medical school debt is 200,000 and you have 50, 60, 70, even 1,000 undergrad debt, then you will be over the cap, and that creates a financial burden. All right. Then my second comment is this. So that's significant. So that's something that we ought to be trying to overturn, right? Or come up with a model, a system where we actually pay that we can fund physicians' education that actually works. Because the idea that in this country we're paying, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 to become a physician, while we're giving aid to the countries and nuclear weapons to countries where people get to become physicians for free, that makes no sense to me as a person. And it shouldn't make any sense of us as society. So we should be able to fund medical school education in general, education that we believe that's good for the society. From the other aspect, as speaking, you mentioned Morehouse, you mentioned Levi Watkins and Tennessee State and these things. Listen, we've been here before, right? We've been here before. This is, we know the history. So we have to create what we need to create, regardless of where we are in the times that we're in, right? My story is that 4 women sat in the room and said, we need a doctor, a lawyer, your family, because it's going to be the lawyer. There was no idea of how that was going to happen, right? I mean, back then teachers were telling me I was too stupid to be anything, right? So they didn't say, well, here's the reality that we're in. Everybody thinks you're stupid, but they said, no, we're going to make this happen. So let's do that. Let's do that. That has to be our who we are. Let's go back. I'm not saying go back because we haven't. We're in where we are, and we've always been in where we are. So we just have to continue to move forward. Now, we have to say education is extremely important, and period. And we have to identify the needs of our community and educate our children to fulfill those needs, period.
Yes.
Larry?
Yeah, so thank you for appearing. This is a really important discussion. I want to talk about, someone who's already in higher ed, in my experiences with these DEI, this at state and federal level, these attacks, particularly when it comes to training future physicians. And then go a little further, the pregnancy-related death rate between Black women and white women. And I'm wondering, what impact this will have on, having these discussions about racism and, during medical school, particularly when it comes to issues relating like pain, the research on pain tolerance in terms of these stereotypes that some physicians have that Black people can deal with more pain compared to other groups. See disproportionate rates in which Black women die from pregnancy-related deaths, regardless of socioeconomic status. If you could talk about that.
Well, so I'm going to hit the pain thing first. The pain part is quite interesting. On one end, we believe there's thoughts that Black people have different pain tolerance, and then on the other end, when Black people complain about pain, they think that they're drug seeking, right? So that's a problem. So when you try to say, well, how do we educate people differently to change these sort of stereotypic thoughts, we have to be open to that. And again, the context of that discussion is that when we get it wrong, it adds to the cost for all of us. That's where the $450 billion a year comes to. Now, what is that? That's more than the cost of what smoking does to our healthcare system and cardiovascular disease. That's a significant amount of money. So I think we have to talk about it in that way, not just the fact that, yes, 86,000, look at David Satcher's work, 86,000 additional deaths occur in the Black community because of care not being delivered the same, okay, right? 86,000 additional deaths, that's 860,000 people over a 10-year period. All right, so there's going to have significant issues at multiple levels when we talk about these things, every aspect that we're talking about. And we know that Black women and poor women, right, but Black women die disproportionately in childbirth. And we're going to get it wrong. And if we continue to get it wrong, it's going to be bad for our society.
We certainly appreciate it. Glad you could join us. Love to have you back on the show. This is the issue that we're always talking about. We launched, of course, our show, Second Opinion, with Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton, our weekly show that deals with health issues because we know how critically important that is to our community.
Hey, thank you very much. It was great to be here, and I look forward to coming again, and I hope to see you at the NABJ.
All right. Absolutely. I will. Well, I'm vice president digital, so I kind of got to be there. So I'll be there.
All right, y'all. So we're going to stop it right there for another quick commentary break. Imani, I'm going to let you go first on this one. And then I have a few things to add after you are done. And then we're going to be wrapping the video up because it's literally about like 4 minutes left.
We're talking about the disparities and basically that America should build a healthcare system capable of serving everyone rather than focusing on politics and the conversation. They're really asking what kind of healthcare infrastructure the country is going to need in the future and how it should invest in the next generation of physicians. The thing is, it then flips to education and the critical role of the historical Black colleges and universities, particularly places like Morehouse School of Medicine and Howard University and Meharry Medical College. And these schools have produced generations of Black physicians who've gone on to serve communities that have historically been underserved. And so strengthening these institutions is essential if they want a healthcare workforce that reflects the diversity of the population. I mean, they did give some stats about the representation from different ethnic groups. And if you looked at the ethnic groups, be it Black, Native American, Latino, all were underrepresented compared to their representation in the population. And also the other thing that came out was the cost of, training to become a doctor. Should there be a cap on medical school borrowing or whether, the financial burdens are discouraging real talent from entering the profession? So, the country does need to invest more in medical education and not making it more difficult and more expensive and more elitist. So it benefits, society benefits when it supports future doctors, rather than leaving them to graduate or go overseas and elsewhere or have high levels of debt. The other thing, he talks a lot about his journey and the low expectations of others, and I think there was a big conversation about the outcomes for Black women in childbirth, which has been a huge concern. Funnily enough, the stats are the same, if not similar. Stats are the same. UK may be slightly lower, but they're similar outcomes. And, the fact that, people seem to think we can absorb more pain or something, or our pain thresholds are higher, and all this other malarkey that seems to be circulated again and again, and not not taking account of some of the some of the complaints which have caused fatalities during childbirth about people complaining about their pain levels. So yeah, we definitely need to invest in a lot more DEI. That's globally, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree, Imani. And I had a few things and whatnot and notes that I had pulled up that I just wanted to read so we can kind of get an understanding of the percentages here to make it make a little bit more sense, right? But Colleges and universities act as the primary pipelines to professional careers, high earning potential, and executive leadership. When equity breaks down on campus, it directly creates the racial gaps we see later in corporate America and public life. So let's talk a little bit more about the college pipeline, access versus graduation realities. While immediate college enrollment rates have improved over the decades, the disparity shifts dramatically when looking at degree completion. So let's talk about college enrollment versus graduation gaps. According to National Center of Education Statistics, which is the NCES data, it's roughly 36% of 18 to 24-year-old Black Americans are enrolled in post-secondary programs. However, the sixth-year graduation rate for Black undergraduate students sits at around 40% compared to nearly 65% for, Caucasian students and about 74% for Asian students. There's also the financial barriers and student debt. Black students carry a disproportionate burden of educational debt. Data from the Education Data Initiative shows Black college graduates owe an average of $25,000 more in student loans than Caucasian graduates. 4 years after graduation, Black graduates hold nearly double the debt of their peers, which limits their ability to start businesses, buy homes, or build early wealth because they're too busy trying to figure out how they're going to pay off their student loans. So typically they have to take jobs that are beneath their degree level just to have income of some kind. The STEM and professional degree bottleneck. In high-paying sectors like technology, engineering, and advanced medicine, minority representation drops further. Black students earn only about 7% to 8% of all STEM bachelor degrees, directly impacting who gets hired into high-wage, entry-level corporate roles. We also have to talk about faculty and leadership and the missing role models. The gap isn't just among students. It extends to the professors, the deans, and the university presidents who mentor the next generation. Faculty diversity. McKinsey research shows that at four-year nonprofit colleges, Black professors make up less than 6% of full-time faculty and under 4% of tenure, full professors. University leadership. Less than 8% of college presidents nationwide are Black. And why this matters. Research consistently shows that when minority students have at least one professor who shares their background, retention rates rise high, graduation rates improve, and students are significantly more likely to apply for graduate school. How educational DEI bridges the corporate gap. When universities implement intentional inclusion frameworks, it directly repairs the broken ladder leading into the professional world. So starting off, we have the HBCU pipeline. Historically, Black colleges and universities make up only 3% of U.S. colleges, yet they produce 20% of all Black graduates, 50% of Black teachers, and 70% of Black doctors and dentists. DEI partnership between major corporations and HBCUs create direct pathways to high-earning careers. We also have targeted mentorship and retention. Universities with structured retention programs, peer tutoring, first-generational college assistance, and professional networking close the graduation gap up to 15 to 20% points for working class and minority students. Holistic admissions, evaluating students beyond standardized test scores, taking into account leadership, resilience, working class background, and overcome hardship, allows institutions to identify high potential talent that traditional metrics may miss. So as we connect the dots here, you can't fix corporate representation at the top if the door is locked at the bottom. Higher education is the engine of social mobility. When universities use DEI to support first-generation students, lower debt burdens, and provide real mentorship, they aren't just giving out degrees, they are creating doctors, executives, policymakers and community leaders of tomorrow. And so this is why the DEI practices are very important and very serious. And the fact that they are trying to get rid of them, I think to me, speaks a lot of volumes as to what they want to see our society look like. What do you think about this, Imani?
No, I think you're 100% right. It really is about the long term impact of the attacks on DEI. Um, it could have the impact it could have on future healthcare and other industries. It's far beyond politics because it ultimately affects how future doctors are trained, how patients are treated, and whether healthcare systems can serve an increasingly diverse population. And one of the key issues is the persistence of the racial myths within medicine. This video highlights the long-standing scientifically unsupported belief, like like I said before, that black patients have higher tolerance for pain, uh, and these stereotypes and other stereotypes can influence medical decisions, and it can result in delayed diagnosis, inadequate pain management, and unequal treatment, as well as the other impacts of having large debt and people not going into the industry, so that these type of myths are, more less used are less used than more, because people don't have an understanding of the culture. And you know the cost on the economy is much higher when you don't have diversity, and it disproportionately affects maternal mortality in black women. And I'll keep saying that: maternal mortality in black women. um you know this disparity consists regardless of income, education, and professional status. So it don't matter whether you're poor or the rich. This disparity still exists. This maternal mortality trigger warning. So we need diversity in the healthcare system, and that's for all races and ethnicities. Because you've got to have a cultural understanding to know how to communicate with people, to know how to tell them how important certain things are, and to know what their fears are, because you know about traditions and beliefs and some of the cultural stuff that goes on. So, we really, people need to push and fight this, abandonment across the industries of diversity, because it is just another slogan that they keep using to say that people who are not qualified are getting jobs. And it's BS. It's absolute BS. But I think people should go over to Roland Martin's and watch, this video, because it's really an important part of what's going on with this administration, with this government. And he has some great, great stuff that he talks about as well. Great other topics where he just lays out the stats and the figures. But yeah, you're right. Absolutely 100% right. And once again, you provide the filling.
Oh no, girl. We got it's peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. It goes hand in hand. But anyway, y'all, we're gonna take a quick song break. After we come back from this song break, y'all, we gotta get into, yes, we're gonna be diving into some Trump stuff, y'all. Because he always up to something. So we have a few topics we'll be covering, but very important topics that we'll be covering, that are involving Trump. So let's go ahead and take this quick song break, y'all. Thank y'all so much for rocking with us. We really appreciate it. Whether you pop in the chat to kick it with us and chit chat with us, or you're just laying back in the cut and listening, we appreciate all engagement. We can feel your presence, and thank you so much. We hope you're enjoying the content, and we all can, maybe learn a little something more and get a better understanding of one another, all those kind of things. But thank y'all so much. Let's get into this song, and we'll be right back.
sisters, brothers, can we talk for a minute? Listen. Yeah. The air is thick with whispers, digital ghosts in the machine. They feed us fiction till our visions blur. You know the scene, you know it. Static on the screen, a 24-hour screen. All day, selling us a fractured dream, tearing at the seams. Facts, they got us locked in little boxes, picking sides, while the real tide rises. And nobody hides, nobody. Podiums are burning, bridges turn to ash and dust. They trading rhetoric like bullets, banking on our lack of trust. That's right. Got us debating headlines while the rent keeps going high. Got us fighting over labels while the future passes by. Like politicians playing chess with pawns that look like you and me. Selling off tomorrow for another jump in GDP. And what we talking about, the foolishness, the vanity. Arguing online while communities lose humanity. A fake voice on a fake beat gets more rage and more ink than a real mother working 3 jobs standing on the brink. They engineered the outrage, designed it to divide. So we never look up from our phones to see the coming tide. Can you hear the war drums pounding out a rhythm low? They're marching us to battle for a God we do not know. They want us choosing colors, but our blood all runs the same. Just strangers in a mirror, whispering a different name. And I'm praying for the day the sun won't care what shade we are, that we can see the human heart behind the battle scar. Tear down the flags and see the faces before we run out of safe places. I see the babies born into this atmosphere of hate. Taught to fear their neighbor before they learn to communicate. Lines drawn in the sand by hands that never touch the soil, while the working class backbone is bent in endless toil. From city blocks to country roads, from oceans to the plains. Different stories, different struggles, but we're carrying the same pain. Keep the people fighting over scraps upon the floor, so they never band together and demand a little more. Tell 'em they call it patriotism, tradition, call it pride. I call it ancient venom with a modern place to hide. Skin tone is the uniform they gave us for their war. The soul inside the flesh is what we should be fighting for. And I'm tired, so tired of singing this eulogy. Such a high that people drown beneath manufactured hostility. The people got the power if they ever truly see. The chains are built from fear, not inevitability. Break free. No politician can heal a divided heart. No billionaire can tell us who we are. The answer lives inside the people. Inside the people. Inside the people. Can you hear the war drum pounding out a rhythm low? They're marching us to battle for a God we do not know. They want us choosing colors, but our blood all runs the same. Just strangers in a mirror, whispering a different name. And I'm praying for the day the sun won't care what shade we are, that we can see the human heart behind the battle scar. Tear down the flags and see the faces before we run out of safe places. What if we looked each other in the eye, past the melanin, past the zip codes, and the bank accounts they fence us in? What if our only currency was empathy and grace? What if we found our real reflection in a stranger's face? This ain't a lyric, it's a lifeline. This ain't a song, it's a reminder. The real war was never race against race or neighbor against neighbor. It's truth against deception, wisdom against ignorance, love against fear. And every single day we choose which side wins.
All right, y'all. Thanks for rocking with that quick little song break. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I had to go to the restroom. So, but we're back, y'all. We're gonna get into our next topic, and move right along, y'all, because we don't want to hold you up too long. And I know you've already been here for quite a bit. So the next topic we're gonna be talking about are the, Iranian threats, I guess, towards Trump, and our political collapse. So high-level security alerts and escalating threat rhetoric between Tehran and Washington dominate national security headlines on global news briefs. Now, direct threats and security protocols. Specific threat reports targeting foreign policy leadership have led to heightened national security readiness and diplomatic friction. The geopolitical fallout is analysts warn that rising tensions in the region threaten energy market stability and complicate international diplomatic channels. And so we will be hearing from none other than one of our favorites over here, the I've Had It podcast. And so they will be discussing a little bit more of this, y'all, and getting into details. So let me pop this up real quick. Let me go ahead and put up my banner here, and we'll listen to a little bit more of this while I'm getting this all set up. Did you have anything you want to add, Imani, or you just want to jump right into it?
No, we can just jump right into it, to be honest with you.
I know it's later there for you than it is for me, so we got to hurry up and power through. All right, let's get right into it, y'all. In the chat.
He had Sundowner Hour Deluxe, Dementia Deck, went on. And thank goodness there was one brave soul in the audience in Michigan that said exactly what he is. And I would have been harsher. He called him a pedophile protector. I would have just called him a straight up pedophile. Here we go.
Companies were coming in and just robbing us blind. And it was causing tremendous problems for your jobs. But now all of that is changing because I placed historic tariffs on foreign producers and manufacturers, including a 25% tariff.
Okay, here's the deal. Get this man a rag to wipe the sweat. You would think after 2 years, after tanking the economy, after bankrupting farmers, after beef prices being what they are, you would think at this point he would have figured out that the tariffs don't work. Yet now he's, increasing the tariffs when every single economist and every single consumer knows it is a tax on the American people. I mean, anyway. That's not the important part of the story because everybody knows that unless you're a dipshit like Trump or in his cabinet. The important part is the heckler kept yelling pedophile protector. And did you see all the eyes in the background? Like nobody was listening to what Trump says, which is a good thing for Trump because he sounds like a fucking insane, unhinged dementia boy. But this is the thing. It is my understanding from people that watch Fox News or far right-leaning news, they have no idea how many times Trump is in the Epstein files. If they are aware that he is an adjudicated rapist, they think it's some conspiracy against him. 100% they think the criminal convictions are a conspiracy against him. The fake news, the weaponization of the Justice Department. He has messaged beautifully on that point. But the reality is, the audience there, if you are still schlepping out to Michigan in the heat of the summer to go listen to this man, in my opinion, you are totally unaware based on your news choices that he is in fact in the Epstein files over 1 million times, that he has been accused of raping a 13-year-old girl in those files. So good on this guy, because it might be the first time that these idiots have heard about the behavior that is alleged in the Epstein files about Trump.
You can tell that he's rattled by the protester by the way that he's speeding up his speech. And he knows that, all of these people who don't hear this because they live in an echo chamber are, hearing it for the first time. The Epstein saga is the walls are going to close in around him at some point. Whether it's during this administration or the next, if he's still alive. That's why he's working as hard as he can to install his personal attorney as the attorney general. But yeah, Pumps, I agree with you. I'm glad that, his own supporters got a little taste of it for once.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you guys really think They don't know.
I really, really do, because I was having a conversation before the election and somebody referenced Epstein. And I was like, he was on the plane. He was buddy. This is before the election, but post Ghislaine Maxwell trial, where all the evidence, and I was like, this is evidence in a court of law. But when you go to Fox, they're talking about Biden, transgender mice. They are not talking about the Epstein files at all, because Dear Leader is ass deep in these. And,
right.
And here's the thing, that is the most important issue, in my opinion, about choosing your political party, because it's real simple. Do I protect pedophiles? Am I pro-pedophile, or am I against pedophilia? And all these, family value Republicans have shown themselves that they are pro-pedophile. And then just because it wouldn't be a Donald Trump speech if he didn't sound like a fucking nut and not be able to talk, here he is trying to pronounce Mexico.
For years, you watch companies move production from America down to Mexico. I love the way there's a very nice president of Mexico. You know that.
He bad raps her all the fucking time. Since when is he a big fan of hers? He bad raps her all the time.
Yesterday, I saw reporting coming out from CNN, CBS, all of this about Joe Biden being forgetful in 2024. New reporting about this. And this man's up there
reporting.
He needs an IV to be upright. He's got 22 doctors that have to take a look at him. He's up there saying me ho ho about our neighboring country. And we're talking about Joe Biden. Both sides are.
Here's the deal. When you have nothing to campaign on, he's in there trying to sell this pile of dog shit that he's brought back American jobs. He has not done that. To the contrary, he has lost American jobs. He has fucked up the economy. We are at a war. Prices are higher. There is no message that he can put out there that will seek traction. I mean, he's calling affordability a hoax, all of the things that people care about, which they should be more high-minded and care about the white supremacy and the misogyny and the homophobia, but they don't. They really only care about their pocketbooks. He can't run on those things because he either says, oh, we've got the greatest economy in the world, prices are down, which is an abject lie, or he says, well, the prices are up because of Joe Biden. So he doesn't have a message. So this is what he's got, mispronouncing Mexico and looking like a complete and utter fool. And here's the thing. He knows how unpopular he is. He knows how popular all of the things that he's doing, the tariffs, the war, the DEI bullshit that is taking qualified men and women out of their jobs and putting in sycophants. He knows all this. He knows how badly he's doing in the polling less than 30%. So what does he do? He doesn't try to reverse course. He doesn't try to make the lives of American people better. He sells, Trump coins and attacks reporters and mail-in voting. He hates mail-in voting. He's all about the SAVE Act because the SAVE Act allows so much more federal inclusion in local state elections. It gives the federal government the ability to take ballots, stop counting, do whatever they want to do, throw out votes. That's why he wants the SAVE Act. So he signed an executive order about mail-in voting and said, no mail-in voting unless you have the citizen rolls turned over to the federal government. Again, he wants to federalize elections so he can interfere with the results. So now we're going up in a lower court in Massachusetts. They blocked this. Now he's taking it to the Supreme Court. The New York Times reports breaking news. President Trump asked the Supreme Court to clear the way for an executive order to restrict voting by mail as he pushes for more control over voting ahead of the midterms. Here's the deal. It's not about the policies. It's about cheating. Full stop.
It's about making it as hard for people to vote as possible because Trump and Republicans know that when people show up to vote, Democrats win. I don't want to take us off track, but I do want to just say something about what Kylie said about whether these Trump supporters actually know that he's in the Epstein files. I think it's two things. I think it's Some of them know and they don't care. And then we had one of the guys from The Good Liars on the show, and we played a clip of him handing out Epstein files, incriminating Trump, and his supporters literally just push it away. They don't look at it. So I think there are.
All right, y'all. So we're just going to take a quick commentary break right here, halfway through, because we're going to try to power through the rest of this, y'all. But Imani, I'll let you go first if you have some thoughts, feelings, and opinions on this. Child, we know about Trump and his madness. And I would just say, like, shout out to, iHip News and the I've Had It podcast. Yo, I love me some Pump. She be cracking me up. Her and Jennifer, like, they just be going in. They say all the things that I be wanting to say, child. But what do you think about this so far?
Yeah, shout out to iHip News or I've Had It podcast. Yeah, please go and go over there and subscribe. Check out their content. They do have interviews with different people. What can we say about a man called Trump? Here he was at this campaign rally in Michigan, and it it was a protester that was making me laugh, actually, with their popular chant, PDF protectors, but and it was distracting to him. But the thing about it is he's still doing the same thing. He's promoting tariffs as a central part of his economic platform, and everybody, well, no, not everybody knows. People didn't actually know that tariffs just affect the end buyer, the end consumer, because in order to make up for that tariffs, the producer has to increase prices. It's just standard calculation. They're not going to take the hit. It's the consumer that takes the hit. So to pay for the tariff that they've got to pay for bringing their goods in, they just up the prices of the goods. It's that simple, simple maths. So this has led to higher prices, and this is kitchen table stuff. Higher prices for consumers, increased costs for businesses that rely on imported goods. And they're really trying to get voters to remain focused on their everyday concerns instead of these sound bites and these campaign slogans, because it's your everyday concerns such as inflation, your household expenses, the overall rise in the cost of living, and these economic pressures that should be shaping public opinion, and they are. I mean, look at his popularity. It's going down the toilet, literally. But yeah, there is a bit of coverage. There is a bit of coverage on the Epstein files, and many supporters do know and choose to ignore, and they're really quite. I think they really believed that all these things he was saying pre the election about releasing the Epstein files, they really believed that he wasn't in them because he was just so convincing to them. And now they're realizing, oh my God, he is in there, and he's in there many times. And most people, like I said, do have buyer's remorse, and it's like that. It's like that conversation that people don't want to mention. But a lot of people have been turned off by it, and he exposed himself by not literally though. He exposed himself. God, that would be awful if he did. He exposed himself by not revealing what was in those files. So people know. They're very much aware. Most of them. You've probably got a 25% MAGA contingency that believes that it's all conspiracies and lies. But they're also saying that the allegations about any public figure, no matter what their party, what their ideology, or whether they're Democrat, Republican, or any other public official, that transparency is essential for maintaining the trust of the public. Um, you know, um, this is yeah. I did the Mexico thing did crack me up, but how many things does he say that are ridiculous? I mean, there's too many. He'd make a whole comedy show on him.
Child, I know I be mispronouncing words, but he over here Mexico. Like, sir, we know it's Mexico. You don't know how to pronounce Mexico.
Mexico. What was it? Mexico.
Mexico, because he like with his lips that little pucker up movement. He like his lips being in that, format. So he also have to say things to where his lips pucker up. So
Yeah.
Mexico,
But
and then it leaves his lips with that little pucker up position.
it's the same old crap, different day with him. I don't know. I mean, there's quite a lot on on him. You could spend a whole hour talking about some of this stuff. But I mean, what did you think about this stuff?
I mean, it's the same stuff that we've been talking about. We are individuals that have seen this from jump. We've seen a lot of this, during his first administration. And there's we don't want to make anybody feel bad, but there are people that just was like, yo, this is not the tea. This is not what it is. We don't need to vote for this man and put him back in office. And like I said, moving forward, I believe people are going to make maybe different decisions when they, as far as when they're voting, not just on their own, personal interest, but really understanding like what type of person you are putting in a position of power. You don't want to put a narcissistic person with like a power hunger in this position and clearly doesn't know what they're doing. This person doesn't come from any type of legal background. They haven't been a lawyer. They haven't been a judge. They haven't been any of those things. They've been on reality TV shows. And so literally our government and our politics has literally become a reality TV show because that's what this person knows how to do. And this person has their own thoughts and feelings, opinions, and hates in his heart. And now he has the power to do something about it and wreak havoc over the people. And that's what a lot of people are seeing. That's what a lot of people are, fighting against. And it's just become, if you ask, in my opinion, and respectfully, a shit show. And we do not need this type of governmental structure within our country. And it's not even just about what it is doing to the people here in the United States. It's about how his relationships with other foreign leaders in other countries is crap. Nobody wants anything to do with him from other countries. And these have been loyal allies that we have had in this country for a long period of time. And, honestly, I don't blame a lot of, the other, leaders or whatnot to make the decisions that they make to think about themselves and their country and their people first and make the best decisions that they need to make sure their people and their country is okay. And we are going to lose, and we have lost so many great relationships with other countries because of his antics. And it just really, it pisses me off. He doesn't care about us here. He doesn't care about anybody in any other country. He only cares about self and his pockets. And I think that's very obvious. And he is a creep and a scumbag. And that's my personal opinion. And, it really boils my blood that, like they're speaking about right now is the Epstein files. And sir, how can you possibly be our president if you are a predator? You can't be both at once. I don't think it's fair. But go ahead. Let's play some more Imani, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Are a certain amount who know and will condone that. And then there's also a very large amount of people who just reject it, won't even look into it, don't want to know anything about it because they're okay with his policies.
Here's the thing, too. Have you ever heard of a cult where there wasn't some type of sexual deviancy by the head of the cult?
It's a requirement.
It's a requirement. So this is just part and parcel. These people's pastors do it. Their youth pastors do it. Like, they say they're against it, but they really turned a blind eye because it's easier than facing reality.
That's where I think I would say saying they don't know about it isn't true. I would say they turn a blind eye, but that means you do know about it. So I think they're choosing. There are people that are choosing not to learn more about it. But all you need to know is he's in it. That's enough.
That's enough. Here's the deal, too. These are the same people that think he's a great businessman because they couldn't just Google 6 bankrupting casinos, and go through the equation and say, oh, that equals he's not a great businessman. These are people that, I hate to say it, at best, they're intellectually lazy. At worst, they're just not very bright, and they lack the ability to think critically, examine evidence that's right there on a silver platter. And unfortunately, at least 77 million people fall into that category on some level. I mean, obviously, take out the racists, that's a big chunk too.
Speaking of his finances, Trump suffers major loss in a defamation suit. A Florida judge has ordered Donald Trump to turn over financial records sought by the BBC in his $10 billion defamation lawsuit. The judge granted the BBC's motion to compel records from Trump's revocable trust, handing the broadcaster a major early win in discovery. So he sued the BBC for defamation. The BBC came back and said, okay, we want discovery, we want his financial records. And now he's backtracking, backpedaling, trying to change it to like just some kind of damages in his business to where they wouldn't get his finances.
This is Trump 101. This is what he does. He files frivolous lawsuits. They get to the discovery phase. He balks or he dismisses. Let's not forget Alina Habba, the great attorney, got $1 million in sanctions from a judge in Florida because of these kinds of discovery issues. And basically what the BBC is saying, okay, turn over your records about what your financial commitment was to January 6th. He can't do that because we know from reports that he put $3 million of his own money. This is a man that will not pay a $1 fee. He will want to make it, I mean, he will go $100,000 in attorney's fees to knock it down to 70 cents. So this guy loves litigation. He's used to using it to his advantage. And here's what's going to happen. They're going to dick around, you know, fines, blah, 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 blah. And then he's going to dismiss it. But the reality is it proves, or no, it doesn't prove. It shows that he is hiding shit, which that's just how he hides everything because he is rotten and criminal to the core, in my opinion.
I agree. And well, just yesterday on Air Force One, Trump is saying that talks with Iran are going good. Iran.
This is a lie.
Iran said, hold my beer. The headline says Melania and Barron Trump targeted by Iran in disturbing video encouraging their assassination. And honestly, some of the
All right, y'all. So we're getting into the portion that I was telling y'all about, and I just want to say extreme trigger warning. We have up our banners, and we have it in the chat. Trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. But this is literally what is being discussed and what is happening because so many people dislike this guy. Like, and you know, when it comes to the spirituality inside of me, I don't wish these type of things on people. I don't think it's cool or okay, but look, this man has wreaked so much havoc over so many people, individuals and groups and races of people alone, other countries and all of the things. And, you know, in life, sometimes the way it is you pick a fight with somebody, you hit somebody, you just never know how hard they're going to attempt to hit you back, right? That's just the fighting 101. But I'm not saying that I approve of, you know, anyone being unalived or anything like that. It is not something that I'm going to laugh at. I'm going to be like, yes, this is what we want. This is what we think should happen. But this is just what is being talked about, right? Because of a lot of the actions and the decisions that he chose to make and the people that he is pissed off. So this is the part we're getting into, y'all, that I was telling y'all about. We can't forget about the Epstein files as well. We know that those Epstein files, they need to be busted wide open, and everyone who is guilty within those said files needs to be taken down. Okay, we already know that. But let's just go ahead and get into this part. Unless you have a few things to say, Imani, we're trying to power through this real quick. I know.
No, really, not really a lot. I mean, they talked obviously about the economy and then the proposed Save Act. And, you know, it is a worry about increased federal involvement in election administration, because that is not going to increase public confidence in elections if the federal government are getting involved in election, and it doesn't ensure election integrity. But what I thought was funny is that the legal developments with his lawsuit of the BBC, because he loves a lawsuit. The thing is, he forgets that people are going to have the opportunity to depose him. and to ask for records. And this is where it all starts falling down for him. He's got to produce a lot of financial records because, you know, they they have their ducks lined up and they know enough about him that they didn't publicize in that program. So I think it's going to be interesting in how this BBC lawsuit progresses. But I think people are sick and tired of a lot of these frivolous lawsuits. But like we said, we're moving on to quite a sensitive part about the threats to life. So I just, like I said, people should go over and look at I've Had It and some of their political coverage. It's great. And they don't hold back.
We're not going to play all of it, y'all. We just want to play a little bit of it. Let me see. Well, we'll play the rest because we're just about at the end. But I just want to be very clear, right? And I want to give a brief synopsis of what is going on because, this is how tensions and hate towards other countries and individuals begin. But let's give a little bit of a brief synopsis as to what is going on. So Trump's foreign policy towards Iran has been defined by extreme escalation, brinkmanship, and high-stakes military action. Critics point out several dangerous consequences. So we have military brinkmanship and war risk, striking key Iranian targets and political leaders alongside the intense rhetoric and demands regarding the Strait of Hormuz, push the region into open war, right? So basically, Trump's decisions put us into war. Opponents argue that by passing traditional diplomacy and relying on maximum pressure creates global economic chaos, specifically in energy markets, and risks dragging American troops into another long-term volatile Middle Eastern conflict. Unpredictability over strategy. Detractors highlight that this approach often trades long-term regional stability for short-term political headlines, threatening extreme measures via public social posts rather than coordinated international diplomacy, undermines alliances and damages American credibility abroad. Now, these are things that are being said. These are some things that people may feel, whether they're on the left or the right. But let's go ahead and get back into the video because you'll see exactly how, things are playing out and how Iran feels. And so let's get into it.
Graphic elements in it. We don't condone this violence, but I just think it's an interesting point that shows that he's lying about the state between Iran.
Here's the thing I will make. Absolutely, it is unacceptable for a nation or a quasi part of another nation to threaten the lives of the First Lady and children of the president. I'm 100% against it, and it should be dealt with. But my thing is, this is my deal. If they think that threatening Barron and Melania will change his heart or make him more prone to a favorable settlement, they're sadly mistaken. The psychologists they have hired to manipulate him miss the part where he doesn't give a fuck about anybody, including his children or his wife. He cares about number one, me, and B, money. This is not a threat that is going to shake him to his core and cause him to want to fold, because fundamentally, I believe he is incapable of attachments even to his own child.
Well, Pumps, I think that's a really good point, because just a couple weeks ago, it was revealed in reporting that there was a plot from Iran to assassinate him. And as soon as that reporting came out, we had a Truth Social meltdown, 1,000 missiles directed straight at Iran. Praise be to Allah. I think that's a really good point. And yes, I will just echo, obviously, this is unacceptable. We don't condone violence, and we don't want Iran to be targeting, the First Lady or her children.
All right, Pumps, you want to close this out?
All right, please, you guys, below in the show notes is a link to Jennifer's book, Not Today, Fascist. Pre-order now. It comes out in October. It's super, super important to read it, particularly before the midterms, and we will be back with more news.
All right, y'all. So that was that report there on iHip News. If you guys have not checked out the platform, please do so. It's an excellent platform. Shout out to Pumps. That was Pumps. That was in the middle that was speaking, and the two individuals that were with her, they typically come, to the platform as well. I don't know them as well as I know Pumps and Jennifer, but I love me some Pumps and Jennifer over on I've Had It podcast and iHip News. So if you guys have not checked out either of those channels, please do so. They are hilarious, but they keep it real and they break it all the way down. We are going to be moving right along, y'all. We got to get into the next topic. While I'm getting everything together for that, did you have any final thoughts, Imani, on what we heard here, just about, with the, Iranian war that literally they're saying it's up and it's stuck, and some of the things that we heard on the Epstein files as well?
Yeah, I just think the misinformation on whether there's a ceasefire or whether agreements have been reached, it really sounds terrible. But as soon as, like she says, as soon as he makes a statement or a comment, Iran literally does say, "Hold my beer," and and does something that says, "No, no, no, that's not what's going on."
Hold my
But
beer.
yeah, no, 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 that's not what's going on. But like I said, we could do Trump fest for days and days. Unfortunately, we might have to cut this one a bit shorter today and maybe come in tomorrow morning and do a quick fire rest of the politics, because there are a lot of other stories about corruption that we really want to bring to you.
Right.
And then we've also going to do some of our interviews as the later show, but maybe we'll do an early run tomorrow. What do you think, Golden?
I think that sounds like a great idea. We don't want to keep the people too long. And again, respect to you because you are like 5 hours ahead of me. So I know it's late there for you. And girl, you are powering through it like a chimp. And so we are already at the 3 hour mark. And with the Trump stuff, child, it's just going to keep pouring out. And so we have
Yeah.
ample time to report on that. So I think maybe let's just go ahead and stop it right here, y'all. We did have 3 other heavy topics that we did want to talk about when it comes to, Trump, but we will do that, because tomorrow's Thursday and that'll be another political coverage day, y'all, before we do something fun on Friday. And we will just add that one to tomorrow, y'all. We try to power through all of it as quickly as possible, but there's just some topics that we don't want to cut short because of the severity of the conversation, and so we do make sure we see it to the end. But with some of this Trump stuff, you probably have already heard it and seen it yourselves already. And even if you haven't, we will bring it back to you and come back in full circle to report that for you, what is going on. But yeah, we don't want to keep y'all too long. Y'all be here for a good time, not a long time. And so, yeah, I think we can go ahead and give some final thoughts and opinions on what we have, heard and reported on this far, and just let each other go for the evening. I know it's about 7:02 p.m. here for me, so I know it's that much later for Imani in the UK. So, and maybe others in other countries as well. So thank you all so much for joining. We really do appreciate that. We appreciate your time, and we appreciate y'all coming back to hear what we got to say. But Imani, I'm gonna let you go first so you can leave, girl, and get you some rest and give your final thoughts, and then I'll give mine after you.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, whether it's continuing questions surrounding Nolan Wells, Daniel Erving, there's on or the Epstein files or allegations of corruption, which we'll get to tomorrow, and why decisions like the removal of temporary protected status are being made. Facts matter, evidence matter, and truth matters. And we're in an age where information travels around the world in seconds, and it has never been more important to slow down, verify what we hear, and separate evidence from opinion, allegations from proof, and headlines from reality. Things are just much better when people ask difficult questions and remain committed to fairness and the truth. And history reminds us that institutions only improve and people when they're prepared to ask honest questions. And at the same time, history teaches us that accusations should be tested against evidence, investigations should follow the facts wherever they lead, and conclusions should never run ahead of proof. Accountability and fairness must always walk hand in hand. Um, you know, public policy is not just about politics. It's behind those politics are real lives. And whether we're discussing healthcare, immigration, education, and economic opportunity, behind every statistic is a family, a worker, a student, a veteran, or a child whose future could be shaped by decisions made far from their home. So our goal is not to tell people what to think. Our goal is not to tell people how to vote. Our goal is to encourage people to think critically and examine the evidence, understand the history, and engage with one another respectfully, even when we disagree. And never underestimate the power of informed citizens. Thank you for spending time here. I am very tired, as you can probably hear, and I can't wait to speak to you guys again. But good night, stay blessed, stay informed, and keep your head on a swivel. Just be careful out there.
Yeah.
There's
Good night.
trolls about.
There's trolls about under the bridge. Anyway, girl, good night, my love. Get you some rest. Thank you so much for joining me, my lovely co-host Imani. Y'all, shout out to her. Y'all show her some love. And go ahead. I'll talk to you soon. I'm gonna close this out, girl. You know, we're gonna end it with a little positive message and a boppity bop 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 at the end. But I hope you guys enjoyed a few, well, not necessarily enjoyed, but I hope the content and what we have brought to you has been meaningful, purposeful, and you took something from it that you appreciated. And thank you so much for spending your time. Thank you for listening, even if you was dancing with your headphones on and mopping the floor at the same time, because y'all be doing that sometimes too when I be listening to content. So if you was in the cut listening, we appreciate your engagement as well. We can feel your presence. If you pop in to show us some love in the chat and chit chat it up with us, we appreciate that as well. And I also want to offer olive branch to everyone. We can let the dust settle. We can let things get a little bit more peaceful, because I really hate the fact that sometimes outside of this content that we do, there are other altercations and things that I get into. And I know it can, shy people away from the channel and the content. But we really do come to bring, like really good content. It's like important things that I feel like we all need to talk about, not just within my country of the United States and not just within the United Kingdom, but worldwide. Things that we all are going through as a people and things that we all are dealing with as the human race. And that is what's important to me. And that is something that I know we need to really keep our focus and our eye on. And I know there's a lot of wars raging right now. We're not just dealing with civil war. We got world war going on. We got spiritual war going on. We got so many different wars that we're fighting at the same time, and we're fighting against each other. And there's just so much fight, right, that's happening. And I know that, some of this content and stuff is like, we try to bring it in a peaceful way, in a understanding breakdown way, to where it's not, too triggering and really igniting people's emotions to get mad and angry and things like that. And we're going to bring y'all some more fun content, so where we can come and join together and just let our head down and have a good time and kick it and chill with each other and all of the things. The serious things I do think are important because it affects our everyday lives. So that's just why we like to report on that. But we do understand that sometimes you want to get away from that. You need a break from that. And you want to just let your head down and chill and just kick it and have a good time. And we will have content and lives and whatnot, where we're going to provide a space where we can all just come and like party and rock it out, party like a rock star, and all of the things, right? So we can do that as well. But we do appreciate y'all supporting us, and shout out to the people who do support us. I really appreciate that. But yeah, y'all, let me go ahead and give y'all some of my final thoughts on this overall content we did today, and then we'll kick it off with a little bobbity bop bop bop, and I'm gonna let y'all go. So, before we log off this evening, I want to invite y'all to take a deep breath, breathe in, breathe out, right? And let's receive this final word of real strength. So when we look at everything we laid on the table tonight, from the tragic, unjust loss of young people like Danielle, Mike, Erving, and Nolan Wells, who deserve truth and full accountability, then we move over to our Haitian brothers and sisters fighting for their basic human dignity and rights, to our brilliant students and educators and future doctors fighting off attacks on university campuses and medical schools. Is very heavy, right? Because the DEI situation is making things difficult. It's heavy on the mind, and it's heavy on the heart, and it's heavy on the soul. But I need y'all to hear me very clearly when I say this. Our power has never been given to us by politicians, and it can never be stripped away by policy. Our power was forged in the fire of resilience long before today. It lives in our unity. It lives in our uncompromising truth. It lives in the way we wrap our arms around grieving mothers, the way we protect our immigrant neighbors that are no less than we are. We all are equal. And the way our young scholars walk onto college campuses with their heads held high, refusing to be erased or get any less of an education than anybody else because of their race or their skin tone. They can try to dismantle diverse equity and inclusion programs in our schools, but they cannot dismantle the genius of our minds. They can try to silence critical history in our classrooms, but they can never wipe away the legacy of who we are. Every time they try to close a door, we build a new highway. Every time they try to make us feel small, we stand up taller. We organize deeper, and we love each other harder. You are not helpless in this moment, nor am I. Your voice in your home, your work in your community, your vote, your prayers, and your steady presence right here on this platform are changing the atmosphere. So tonight, I want to leave y'all with hope, with unconditional love, and with an unshakable light. Do not let the darkness of this world dim your spirit. Do not let the news of the day rob you of your joy, your peace, or your purpose. Walk into your homes, your workplaces, and your neighborhoods, knowing that you carry the strength of generations behind you and the promise of a brighter tomorrow ahead, especially for our children. We see you just like you see us, and we appreciate every single one of you in the chat, in the cut, in the community, who shows up week after week to seek a little bit of truth and stand in purpose. We thank you for your time that you take out of your busy schedule and things that you got going on in your life to kick it with us, your energy and your heart. We want you to continue to do as we're going to practice to do. Hold our heads high, protect our peace, and keep shining our light into every dark room we enter. We love you, we uplift you, and we will see you next time, whether it be on Global Politics with Purpose or any other topic that we cover over here. So I hope everybody has a good evening, night, morning, afternoon, any of those time zones that you're in. I want the rest of it to be amazing for you, great for you, and I wish that for you. And we thank you so much for all of your support and presence. And y'all know how I do, y'all. I'm going to leave us with a little boppy bop bop bop. So this is Golden and Imani signing out. And if y'all was wondering where Mama Warrior is at, she's a little bit busy today, but she was listening in the background. She loves you all just as much as well. And she's always somewhere in the cut, y'all. And so we will talk to y'all very soon. Thank you so much. I will be around because y'all know I do my trips and stuff, because as I receive support, I like to give equally that support back to the ones who support me. So we got to lift each other up and have each other's back, y'all. Thank y'all so much for rocking with us. Let's go ahead and end it out with a few bops. And I'll talk to y'all tomorrow on the next live. We got some more politics to come. And then Friday, y'all, we're going to turn it up a notch and have some fun. All right, y'all. So Golden and Imani and Mama Warrior is out, y'all. Bye.
They handed us the script, but we don't gotta read it no more. Yeah. Same old story, different page. Same old ink on a different stage. Got my own people on the corner, pushing me closer to the edge with rage. Willie Lynch probably laughing in his grave. Seeing centuries later, we still enslaved. House divided, envy contagious. The blueprint still working. Ain't that outrageous? Yeah. Stack the odds, casino game. Bet against ourselves just to chase some fame. Another brother falls, everybody crying. Last week behind closed doors, they was quietly plotting, trying to dim his light, cause his future too bright. Crabs in the bucket pulling down every flight. Generational wounds pass hand to hand, fighting each other instead of the man with the plan. Iron chains became gold links, different metal, same prison when nobody thinks. Freedom ain't jewelry, freedom is soul. Can't buy liberation if your spirit been sold. We just echoes in the barrel, spinning circles every day. History whispers softly, but we keep looking away. They handed us the script, now we acting every part. Time to break the cycle, time to heal the broken heart. This ain't the dream they marched for, this ain't the future they could see. This whole thing was a setup, it's time we set ourselves free. Same concrete soaked with tears, same pain carried through the years, but we tear each other down for applause. Temporary likes while nobody heals. Call you a sellout when you lead a block. Soon as success make the whole world stop. But the real betrayal ain't broke the flight. It's poisoning your people out of envy and spite. You mad cause this watch gleam, mad cause our band gleam. Meanwhile the architects of the cage still counting money behind the scenes. They love the chaos, love the smoke, love watching families lose all hope. Another headline, another mother cry, another generation acting while they dying. The trap ain't poverty, the trap is division. The chains ain't visible, they're built from our decisions. We carry anger in our chests, years of trauma, years of stress, and pass it to our own bloodline. Instead of putting evil to rest, love became weakness, unity became strange, clout became currency. Everybody chained. Round and round we go. History keeps repeating, cause nobody let it go. But tonight we change the pole, we build every hope. This ain't the life they believe. The chains only live if we choose not to leave. Let the echoes disappear, let the barrel finally break. Leave the hate where it belongs, for our children's sake. No more jealousy, no more self-destruction, no more borrowed hatred. It's unity or it's nothing. We free. Considering they got people forgetting folks are human. That part. Every laugh ain't harmless. Every post ain't just jokes. Some people smiling online, crying in real life. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Why you tearing people down for fun? Why? You don't know what they carry when the camera done. Broken souls throw stones and hide their hands. Cowards in comment sections playing God again. Karma don't miss. Karma don't miss. And healing's still possible too. So either spread love or watch life humble you. Yeah. YouTube streets messy, everybody got a target. Creators throwing dirt like hate became a market. Mocking people daily, that spirit look haunted. Tell me who raised y'all, this behavior garbage. Laughing at depression, exposing folks' trauma. Then that shock when tragedy follow behind you. The evil energy, boomerang proper. Come on, pull up silent like a midnight robber. And honestly, do you watch my live? I talk truth, pain, growth, tears, real vibes. Not everybody built for the games online. Some folks want insult from losing their mind. That's facts, no cap. Y'all did the humiliation. Every live stream feel like public execution. Views over souls, cloud over humans. Then wonder why the whole world mentally ruined. Somebody mama crying at night. Somebody daughter hurt inside. Somebody praying not to give up while bullets screenshot painful life. Shame on you, shame. You need healing too. Only damaged people wake up daily, trying to damage others too. Enough is enough. Why you tearing people down for fun? Tearing them down. You don't know what they fighting when the live stream done. Keyboard killers acting tough online. Whole time spiritually broken inside. Karma don't miss, no. Karma don't skip souls either. Every hateful seed gon' meet the reaper. So to the hurt and bully people, listen close. You matter more than these demons online. These chicks bitter, these dudes weird. Obsessed every day, like why you still here? Refreshing my page while pretending you don't care. Whole personality built off hate and fear. Talk slick online, real life timid. Broken inside, everybody can't feel it. Projecting their wounds while the comments all cheering. That ain't straight, baby, that sickness concealed. And I said what I said. Yeah, some of these creators need therapy bad. Not another live stream drag. Not another fake outrage cash grab scam. Y'all bully for a living, that's sad. Spirit look bankrupt, dusty and mad. And the people encouraging it just is trash. Laugh now, karma got a long memory past. Lord, cover the wounded, cover the lonely heart, cover the lonely heart, cover the people crying silently in dark rooms. Teach us compassion again. Teach this world mercy again. Because words cut deep, so deep. And some people never recover. To everybody bullied online, you are not weak because you hurt. You are not crazy because you feel pain. And don't let these empty souls convince you your life got no value. The loudest bullies usually fighting demons they never healed from. That ain't an excuse, but it's the truth. And to the bullies, get help, seriously. This obsession with tearing strangers apart every day, that ain't normal. Enough is enough. We need love more than ever now. More than ever. Too many souls out here barely hanging on somehow. No more glorifying painful views. No more clowning her forever new. No more mob attacks for entertainment. That darkness got consequences too. Karma don't miss. Karma don't miss. And healing's still possible too. So either spread love or watch life humble you. Enough is enough. Spread love before it's too late. Yeah, before it's too late. Yeah. Every time, I think we finally figured it out. Somebody let pride walk in. Somebody let ego take the wheel. Damn. We're stronger together. Yeah. We're stronger together. Yeah. We started with a vision, lift each other high, turn these little channels into reasons people smile. Shared every live stream, dropped each other's names. Now we're acting like we're strangers in the game. Clicks over compassion, views over truth. Everybody chasing numbers, who's chasing the youth? Every week another friendship breaking at the seams. How we building kingdoms if we're tearing up the team? We get so close, I can almost see it. One big family, everybody eating. Then pride shows up and the love disappear. Now all I hear is silence in my ear. Damn, why we always fall apart. Damn, who taught us to guard our hearts? We rise together, then divide again. I still believe we can still win. But damn, it hurts to watch. Everybody say we family, till the camera stop rolling. Everybody say I love you, till somebody else is growing. One blessing shouldn't threaten mine. God made enough sunlight for everybody to shine. Somebody getting 50 views, somebody getting 50,000. While we counting blessings like love is running out, then what if your breakthrough was connected to my hand? What if heaven's waiting for us to understand? Maybe the algorithm ain't the enemy. Maybe fear is, maybe competition is. Maybe we're starving for applause when we should be feeding purpose. I ain't perfect, I got scars too. I misunderstood people, people misunderstood me too. But if we never heal, we'll repeat the pain. Different faces, same old game. Children watching, learning from my way. Seeing grown folks throw each other away. What are we teaching? What's left behind? If all they remember is how we couldn't unify. Damn, I can almost hear the future calling. Damn, why we keep stumbling when we're walking? There's room for me, there's room for you. Success ain't smaller because somebody else broke through. One life can start another. One voice can lift another. One dream can wake a nation if we stop competing and start creating. One day, the subscribers won't matter, the views won't matter, the money won't matter. People will remember who made them feel seen, who reached back instead of reaching over. Maybe unity isn't something we wait for. Maybe it's something we become. We're still here. We're still family. We can still get it right. Damn, but I still believe. Damn, but I still believe. Another day, another headline breaking. Promises made while the world's still shaking. People searching, trying to find the truth. Everybody talking, who's speaking proof? Voices rising from every neighborhood, fighting for tomorrow like we always should. Justice ain't a trend, it never goes away. The choices that we make write another page. Don't let the noise drown out your voice. History is written by every choice. Stand together, don't divide. Every generation has a story to repeat. Different opinions, different points of view. Still one tomorrow we're all living through. Ask the questions, read between the lines. Keep your values stronger than the headlines. Respect the facts, let wisdom lead. Real change always starts with deeds. Oh, we're watching, we're learning, we're voting, we're serving. No fear, no silence, no giving up, keep rising. Headlines don't speak, the people still speak. Hope survives when communities meet. Truth and justice are mountains we climb. One voice becomes a movement. One step becomes a time. Keep your eyes open. Keep your heart strong. Keep asking questions. Keep moving on. Because tomorrow's story starts tonight. They don't know her like I do. Nah. Golden. She moved through the city with her hair held high. Pretty brown skin with a storm inside. Everybody see the glow, they don't know the pressure. Smile so warm, but her heart no weather. Late nights riding while the skyline blurred. Trying not to cry when the memories occurred. Had to learn fast, everybody ain't loyal. Some people love you long as they control you. Now she move careful, energy expensive. Too many fake vibes hiding in the friendship. Used to give love with her hands wide open. Now every scar got the whole vibe frozen. They don't know her like I. No, they don't know. She goes like golden, soft voice, deep soul, hope or glowing. She goes by golden. City lights dancing with her heart stay open. Long dark roads, but she still stay focused. Everybody watching, but they don't really know her. Like golden. Too much grace with the games they throwing. Real love, rare, so spirits they guarded. Beautiful soul, but the pain left marks in it. Mirror tell the truth when the lights go dim. All the things she carry weight heavy within. She survived nights she don't even speak on. Still finding peace for the whole world leave wrong. Funny how the love disappear when you're healing. Funny how the fate come around when you win. Now she trusts God more than people intend. Just cause smiles hot and being hidden the big. She's still soft-hearted but she way less naive. Can't keep pouring love where there's nothing received. Still dancing slow through the hurt and confusion. Trying not to lose herself chasing illusions. She survived the fire. Still glowing through this room. Still still dangerous. Still chosen. She goes back golden. Slow so deep make the whole room notice. Heavy lies couldn't break what was chosen. Still standing tall while the whole world folding. She goes back golden. Heartbreak turned to pain cinematic. Now the tears got rhythm when she's singing. And they still don't know her like they still don't know her like that. Spend so much time looking for love in strangers. Spend so much time. Spend too much time letting outside voices shake the mirror. But at the end of the night, when the lights fade, when the city quiet, when the tears dry, we still got